Hello everyone. Hopefully, hopefully this is working. I need to get this set up on another monitor here. Let me see here. Let's see here. Going to get this. Okay. Okay. So, let's see. There has been a lot of stuff, warmongering, going on, um, from different sides of the aisle going on here. Either it's Iran, Russia, or China. And the New Jersey mayor added his 2 cents in here. Um, I'm just gonna let him roll with it here.
Mysterious drones hovering over the tri-state area. In New Jersey, the flying objects have been spotted over residential neighborhoods, restricted sites, even near President-elect Donald Trump's home and critical infrastructure.
Belleville Mayor Michael Mellum says the drone sightings are creating anxiety in his town, and he's looking for answers. And he joins us this morning right here on Good Day New York. Thank you for joining us, Mayor. You know, President-elect Trump says that the Biden administration knows what's going on. Our government knows what's going on.
They do.
You're the mayor of Belleville.
They know
excuse me,
everything
of
that's
Bellevue.
going on.
What do you know?
We know very little. About 6 days ago, there was an unprecedented briefing with every single mayor in the state of New Jersey, along with every member.
This is gonna get. Let's go. I went into somebody else's site, and I was saying that all this is misinformation. If it is, if it isn't, and he's doing his, and I didn't mean to harass him or say that it was that he's putting out misinformation as where he's getting the news from. Is putting out misinformation at KLW. That's a lot different. Okay? The thing is that let's listen to the video and then I'll get into different things that I know what's going on.
Of our state legislature. We learned exactly at that time what the state knows, which was very little. Since then, information has not been forthcoming. And it's this lack of transparency, in my opinion, that's doing nothing but fueling conspiracy theories online.
Do you have any idea what it could be? Or which side it could be, where it's coming from?
Yeah, I can tell you what it's not. We know for a fact it's not little green men. And more than likely, it's not
Why
a foreign
not?
adversary, because they would be able to figure out how to turn off the blinking lights. These drones are huge. We had a mayor...
And to be honest, there have been UFOs. Okay, whether they're ETs or not is totally different. It could be re-engineered craft, etc. Okay, our government. Okay, there has been reports out there that they have shut down. They cannot be tracked. They blink out. They turn invisible. It sounds like the technology that we have from either ET technology or some of the cloaking technology that we have been testing from Area 52 Dugway, okay, and other places, not just Area 51, but a lot of different bases that we test cloaking technology, and we have technologies where doesn't take ET technology even, okay, it doesn't. Some of it is human as well, mixed in with this stuff. But
yesterday on the call with the White House, telling them that he had 6-foot drones hovering over his house. Yet they continue to tell us we don't know what we're talking about. It's misidentification. Certainly there's some misidentification probably going on, but I could assure you that we are seeing drones in New Jersey all over the place.
All right, so Bethany Frankel, I know she's not like, you know, the New York Times, but she says that she has like some kind of contact at the Pentagon and that it has something to do with radioactive material in New Jersey. What are you hearing?
So here's what I know. I know that we were told by our state police that we have assets over our critical infrastructure. Now, depending on your point of view, that's either concerning or comforting. I think it's comforting because it's probably us listening and watching. We also know that we have drones that are flying in a grid-like pattern. In my opinion, they're looking for something. What might they be?
This is the thing. We have assets on the ground, like I've been telling people. We have assets on the ground that can sniff this stuff. Even a lot better than drones. Now, we do have new technologies that are being used here, but this isn't about just that. The thing is, and I don't think it is, like I said, this is a psyop. From what I see, everything that I know so far, okay, unless they come out and say different. And there's no reason why the government can't tell us that there's a dirty bomb or bombs out there. There have been dirty devices out there for a long time. You know, since the disintegration of the Soviet Union. This is something that we've talked about since the disintegration after the Berlin Wall and everything. This is nothing new whatsoever. It's like this is Sum of All Fears, you know, the movie and everything. This is nothing new whatsoever. And I gotta say, I usually don't do stuff on YouTube and everything. I have other places I do content. When I went to KLW, that guy's place, his site, it said this is misinformation and stuff like that about the Russians and stuff like that. The thing is, now, he says there are troops, bombers, everything massing at the border with Sweden, Norway, and Belarus and stuff like that. If anybody does any intelligence, like I have done, reports or whatever, you know that Belarus is a puppet government from Putin. And Russia has taken over neighboring countries there. So he can, you know, invade Ukraine and other satellite states. I'm not arguing that with him or anybody that there's a reason why we are in Ukraine. There is. That's for the grain, the wheat, and stuff like that. There are reasons for that. But to say that this is from, you know, a Russian, you know, dirty bomb thing, I need real proof, and this sounds like warmongering, the same old BS from Iran that these idiots are doing here. But go on. I have to click.
Be looking for? Well, potentially, we're aware of a threat that came in through Port Newark. Maybe that's radioactive material. There was and there is an alert that's out right now that radioactive material in New Jersey has gone missing.
I call bullshit unless you got proof. I call bullshit on you. And if there is so-called proof, why haven't they... This is the thing. If this was true, why hasn't law enforcement, the FBI, ATF, Homeland Security, and everybody else cordoned off all these blocks in all these areas? If this was a real nuclear event, a real dirty bomb event, people. Wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. They be closing down streets and everything. Now, you can say that, the CIA has done stuff before, psychological tests, say, hey, we don't want people to go crazy and stuff like that. But let me tell you, the right people would say, hey, stay off these streets. We're looking for something. They would acknowledge it and stuff like that. And people are not that, they're not going to go batshit crazy and just, run and say the sky is falling. People are smarter than that nowadays, and like run off with their heads cut off, So I'd call bullshit on this. Now, I do know there's plenty of dirty bombs that people can even make. People can make dirty bombs. There's a way to do that if you know how to do things. There's a way to do that. Thing is, to do that, usually you're to alert authorities in obtaining the material to create dirty bombs. This does not make sense. This, I call bullshit, and I told the guy, I told the guy, KLW, News, whatever, if I'm wrong, I need shit for this. I deserve it. I will deserve to be attacked for it. I will deserve it. But until then, unless there's proof, and the thing is, the Russians do heavy exercises and maneuvers. China does heavy exercises and maneuvers. They had like 19 destroyers encircle Taiwan, or more than that. It's probably more. It's at least 19. They're always harassing us and neighbors and stuff like that. South China Sea. Russia's doing these heavy exercises. China and stuff like that. They come together, do exercises together. North Korea and stuff like that. I do my intelligence, work, and I get reports and everything. Belarus, has been an area, a staging ground for Russia, for them to just use the military going as another front. They already have in some ways. So, I mean, to say that, because they're massing stuff at Norway, Sweden, that there's an imminent attack, no, that's pretty suicidal. And to be honest, Russia doesn't need another war right now. They lost Syria, and Iran has its own problems. They've gotten bombed over there a bit as well. They have to pick and choose very carefully for their have their military assets and stuff like that. And that's one reason why they let Syria fall. They're overstretched, with Ukraine and stuff. So it's a losing war for them. If they would have helped Syria, then that would have paved the way for Ukraine to come in and take over more land from Russia and stuff. So Russia doesn't need that, a diversion. So, I mean, let's go here.
Missing on December 2nd. It was a shipment. It arrived at its destination. The container was damaged and it was empty. So
okay,
potentially
wait,
we're looking
stop
for
right
that.
there, Mayor, because that's very important information.
Potentially, we're looking for that. Now, why didn't you tell people about this before? And the thing is, not all these craft are drones. Not all of them are. Okay? They're not. Okay? Some of these are actual UFOs, etc. And everything. This is happening around the world, mind you. I believe it's Ross Coulthart from News Nation. As I said before, We had that on where he said this is happening around the world, not just in the U.S. Don't think this is happening just in our yard. This is happening around the world too, at different intervals. So they could say the same thing about us, the U.S., that we are the problem, that we are creating this war in the way that politicians and everything that they are.
Information. And that came from a credible source.
That came from the U.S. government.
And so
the U.S. government, I don't trust anything the piece of shit government puts out. They lie to us all the time. Am I saying that they're lying right now? No, I'm not. But I don't trust anything about the government because I know all the BS that they spew out about things, in keeping secrecy and lying to the people. This administration especially. Okay? You can't trust the government. The same government that, has the illegals, taking all of our resources and stuff like that, putting us as second, third class citizens and stuff, lying about Hurricane Helene, letting people die, lying to us saying everything's okay, nothing's happening at the border, nothing's happening here, nothing's happening over there, don't worry about it. It's bullshit. I don't trust anything the government says. I go by all of what I know, all of what I see, and the information that I get from other sources. Now, KLW said, you're smoking pot, and you're smoking. I'm not smoking anything. I could use some. I could use some to chillax, I guess, a bit. A lot of people could. But, I mean, no. What I'm talking about where, this is a diversion, it is. This is a total diversion where lawmakers are hurting the American people. Lawmakers are making laws right now to restrict civilian use of drones. These are not civilian drones being used. These are government drones. They are the problem. They are lying out of their kazoos about this, out of their asses about this. They are the problem. They are creating a problem. Unless they tell us there's dirty bomb out there, in which even then, I'm not going to always believe it. I'm not, because I know the government better than that with COVID and all this other stuff. And COVID was bad. I had it several times. I got several times. Okay? But the government has for the past 70 years, and it has it for a long time, putting out misinformation, lied to the American people, full of social psychopaths. And I see this more as an experiment, to see a psychological experiment that's also like a psyop. That I think, from other sources and other, videos I've done, a lot of people see this as BS. Now, if the government says this is, Russian material, I don't think it's not Russia then, it's from Ukraine. But but they want to tie Russia into this to create war. They want World War III. Do you not see what's happening? They're creating this crisis. Where is his sources? Where, I mean, even if he has sources, I can hardly believe it, but I don't know.
It's missing?
Missing.
And they think it's in New Jersey, or it could be anywhere?
It was lost in New Jersey, in transit. And again, this is just an example of what I think that...
Why would the government lose radioactive material? And radioactive material could be something, found in X-ray machines, stuff like that. I'm probably off on this, but radioactive stuff, or X-ray machines emit X radiation, stuff like that. It doesn't mean that it's a dirty bomb. It just means that's radioactive. It doesn't mean it's a threat to the populace, though. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't. Why did you not say anything before? Why did you not say anything before? That's what
we're sniffing for. I think we do have the assets that can go up and fly around and sniff things, which is why
we don't need fucking drones to sniff them out. We have ground assets that have been doing that since shortly after 2001. We have stuff. We have monitors we've had since the mid 40s, 50s to detect radiation, stuff like that. It's gotten way, way, way better. We have ground assets.
We're not seeing the uptick we used to see in Belleville anymore. It's kind of moving, but we're seeing alerts that it's happening now in Pennsylvania.
And that's right about the time that the drone sightings began, right?
Yeah, drone sightings began about 4 weeks ago.
Okay, so when you take a look at this, if this information is indeed credible, why wouldn't the government say, it's us?
That's the crazy part about this. We've gotten very little information. Even yesterday on that call with the White House, literally mayors were told, you guys are seeing things. There's no credibility to this.
They're gaslighting us, and they're making laws that is hurting the American people. If this was about dirty bomb, of course, people could use drones to attack us with dirty bombs, etc., etc., so there is a reason. But why wouldn't they admit that? Like I said, if KLW News is right, I'd eat shit. But I see this as more of a psyop. I could be wrong. I think I can see a bad episode where I'm dead wrong. But you know what? And he deserved all the glory. Ryan dead ass wrong. But, and then I just say, I'd have blamed the fucking government for making you look like a horse's ass. And other people are saying the damn same thing. Because the government thinks they're so much better than us, and they're not. They're a bunch of sociopaths. You know, they don't believe in telling the people everything. Of course, some people can go crazy, of course. But for most people, listen. So you got drones. If they have a drone, if it is, now they say that it is radioactive material. Is it a bomb or not? Because then you'd have drones looking to the sky, through the sky, for other drones that could weaponize this stuff. And to weaponize it, it can't be just radioactive. For it to be a bomb, you have to have a detonation, you have to have the fuel, and everything else. I mean, you can make dirty stuff, but to make it where it's going to be like an atomic bomb, that's on a whole different level. Why wouldn't they? And though I call this guy out on misinformation and everything, there's always a chance that, you know, me or anybody else could be wrong in what we're saying, you know, drones, UFOs. And the thing is, there have been UFOs sighted with this. There have been orbs and everything else. So
we have one mayor, like I said, had drones over his house. I mean, we're no longer going to stand for not hearing the truth. I mean, our state government is failing us. They're not getting the answers from the federal government. And even though yesterday they told us that there's nothing to see here, today there's a top secret briefing going on in Congress. Well, what are they being told that we weren't told yesterday?
Real quick, did you know yesterday?
But this is the thing where you don't trust the government. These sickos in government, they're keeping everything a secret, including UFOs, ETs, and a bunch of other stuff that make them look bad and crimes they commit, and taking money from NGOs, think tanks, and stuff like that, banking, healthcare, and stuff like that, you know, where they're frauding American people and stuff like that. They go behind closed doors, and have these meetings to keep things secret, to cover their asses. And the American people suffer and the American people don't get the answers. And we have government that doesn't work for the people whatsoever. Just a bunch of arguing from a bunch of criminals and sociopaths.
Today, when you were on that call about this missing radioactive activity or merchandise, or did you know that this morning after the call?
I was made aware of it yesterday morning. I did raise my hand. We weren't allowed to speak. I did raise my hand, was not called on to get that question answered.
So apparently it is concerning. Even the president-elect, who I'm sure gets some kind of briefings on things, he says he's not going to his home in Bedminster, right?
Yeah, I listened to him yesterday. He no doubt gets the same exact briefings that President Biden gets. He says our government knows. He says our president knows. And he also ended with saying, I'm not going to be in New Jersey this weekend.
So what do you want to know? What do you want the government to tell you and the general public?
The truth.
I want them to be clear with us. I want transparency. I want them to say these are our assets. There's no need to concern about what's flying. The question should no longer be who's flying these drones or who owns them. It should be what they're looking for. Tell us they're ours. Tell us that they're protecting us, and tell us what the threat is.
Okay, we're coming up on the holidays. Is everybody...
If I'm wrong, I'd be kissing this guy's ass. Is what I'd be doing. I'd be probably, oh my God. I know the ladies, somebody. Sorry.
Everybody going to be safe?
I hope so.
What do you want people to do if they see them?
That's a great question. So we've been told that pilots out of Newark Airport are getting hit with lasers. You cannot take the law in your own hands. We do not want you.
Do not shoot at drones, you freaking morons. You do that, charged with a crime, federal crime, including if bullets hit anybody, that could be negligent homicide, and crimes if starts a fire and these fall out of the sky. This is another thing the stupid government has not been doing enough of preventative to prevent stuff like this. If anything, they just want, they've been adding to the fuel to get people to shoot these things.
Shooting at them, it is a federal offense to shoot on an aircraft. Drones are considered aircraft, and please do not try and hit them with lasers. Our pilots are being distracted.
So you think they're American, they're our government, and they're looking for something that went missing that could be very dangerous?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Mayor, you got to keep us in the loop here.
Absolutely.
Because we haven't heard any of this stuff in New York.
I have. I heard about this days ago. I heard from JLR and I heard from other people as well. Thing is that we have ground assets. And if there's a dirty bomb, I keep on saying this, if there's a dirty bomb, we have keep on saying ground assets. We have sniffers. We have devices that can sniff the air. And we're supposed to cordon off areas, but that would probably be too big a hassle. This is where drones would come in. That part would make sense. Instead of having everybody stay in their homes, they're going to just have drones over skies. But I can actually see that. It makes sense. But I don't see where the government cannot tell the people, hey, there's some stuff going on, we're going to be sniffing the air. And, I told JLR and others, this is a big psyop. And no matter what it is, this is a psyop. Even if I am wrong about this, because this is, hurting the civilians with drone activity, but it's like if there is a dirty bomb, there's a reason to have these laws there, but we already have laws. We already have it where you're supposed to do sign-ups with the FAA and stuff like that. There's already places that we cannot fly drones. So to make these laws, that'd be fucking draconian. So they're not telling us. They're not.
Absolutely.
This is good. credible
information.
stuff. It's
Yes.
good, credible information.
And it's all verified and comes based, everything that I based my opinions on have come from my briefings that I've gotten.
Your briefings by the government. Thank you so much. Good luck.
The same government, I don't trust at all with anything, really. I don't. But let's see. There's more. Got this here. I don't do most of my media on I don't. I have a lot of other stuff I have jobs with. The military. Don't say anything. Just a bunch of assholes, really. And we do have secret areas, bases where we fly drones in and out of. So let me see here. Which one do I go? Let's go for the hell of it.
Well, it's sure starting to look like the New Jersey drone mystery has been solved, at least in large part. And more than that, the culprits behind these drone swarms may have also been behind similar swarms spotted over Langley Air Force Base last December. And that culprit seems to be NASA, or rather a long list of organizations and corporations partnered with NASA on what they call the Advanced Air Mobility Mission. Now, near as I can tell, this theory was first posited by a TikTok creator named JK Ultra, but it first caught my attention thanks to that Intel guy. Then, since he pointed me in the right direction, I've been doing some reading, and I can now tell you that last December, the U.S. Transportation Command, Air Mobility Command, the National Aerospace Research and Technology Park, and the Atlantic County Economic Alliance announced the establishment of a testing corridor between Delaware and New Jersey for a long list of military, commercial, and academic drone technologies. And according to their press release, these drone tests would not only be conducted in and around military installations, but could instead be launched and recovered from anywhere within this drone testing corridor, which they identify as between Joint Base McGuire-Dix-Lakenhurst in New Jersey and Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. And according to that federal press release, this testing corridor is meant for the rapid development of commercial, academic, and federal government drone systems that could benefit future applications for the strategic airlift capabilities of the U.S. Air Force. But I can already hear you saying, well, if it was this NASA-led program, why haven't they come forward? And I honestly couldn't tell you, but the evidence suggests this isn't the first time that happened. Last December, there were similar reports of mysterious drone swarms operating over U.S. military installations, like Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. And near the end of December, NASA less than 2 miles away from Langley Air Force Base. And now there have been countless sightings of unusual drones operating in the airspace over New Jersey and the surrounding area. And that just so happens to largely coincide with the announced and established testing corridor for advanced drone technologies in the same area run by the same program. And while I have reached out to NASA to see if they will confirm or deny their involvement in this recent rash of sightings or previous sightings over Virginia last year, I can say right now, as that Intel guy said in his video yesterday, Occam's razor sure does point to this.
And let's get to the other one here.
Let's bring in Republican Tennessee
Yes.
Congressman Tim Burchett, friend of show, and Professor Dakota Rudisill. And you can tell me if I mangled your name. I do it all the time. Professor, how do I say your name the right way?
You nailed it. Rudisill.
30 years studying nuclear weapons, work in Homeland Security, understands, okay? First of all, Let's start on the political. And Professor, you listen to what I hear from Tim. If you got any questions, let me know. Representative, I have it right that there's a classified briefing, right? Why do you guys need one if there's nothing to see here?
There was a classified briefing last week. I didn't go to it, Chris, because and thank you for having me back on, brother.
Of course.
They bring you into the briefing, and then you can't talk about it. And if you do, you can be brought up on charges. And even if it's something you already know, which you and I think I know what's going on with some of this. I don't think they're sniffing out nuclear stuff. I don't blame that guy for saying that. Everybody's got a theory on it. My guys down at my Liars Club, coffee club every Saturday morning, they've got a theory on it too. But the reality is, I think it's a combination of everything. If I could go into that, is that all right?
You use the time as you want, sir. You serve the people.
Brother. Well, I think you've got a combination of things going on. You've got some copycats, but I do think the Chinese are using this. They have componentry and everything we've got. The camera that's filming me right now is Chinese. They have their componentry in our fighter pilots, and there was a report out a while back, and it's been talked about a lot that they're afraid they could have the capabilities of even turning off some of our jets if we were to get into a conflict with them. I don't know if they're behind 100% this, but they are monitoring this. You remember that Chinese spy balloon?
Weather balloon.
Yeah. That thing flew over the Aleutian Islands, came down, went across the country, transversed, turned directions, came back around, took in Oak Ridge National Laboratory in my backyard there in Tennessee, did everything. Then they shot it down off the coast of Myrtle Beach. Now, the Chinese are cold and calculated. They look at everything that we do. They monitor every movement. They're monitoring. And on that thing, they didn't really have to do much spying because, honestly, they've got people in our colleges and universities. They had a member of Congress had a relationship with a known spy. You had a known spy that was a driver for a U.S. senator for 10 years, for goodness sakes. So I think what they're monitoring is our response. And you are correct. We are going to end up moving on off this thing, and then something's going to happen major because of these drones, because we are not paying attention to it. And I firmly believe that the Chinese are monitoring this. They have componentry in these things. They know where they are. They know what's going on, and they are watching our political reaction, our military reaction, and just our press reaction to this thing. And for our White House to kind of poo-poo it, to me, sends the wrong message. I think you should take the American public serious. They're concerned about this. New Jersey I know a bunch of folks up there in New Jersey since I've been in Congress. They talk funny, but they're good folks. And that was one of the most compliant areas during COVID, if you remember. But these folks are not compliant about these drones. They are incredibly heightened about it, and they should be. So, and that's basically it. That's what I think it is. So they've got.
I don't want you to tell us what you hear. I don't want you to tell us what we hear tomorrow, because I don't want you to be thrown in jail. But hopefully,
I probably won't even be invited to this one. They usually tell me about 15 minutes before these things. They usually don't want people like myself in those meetings.
I hope if you get information, you're able to use it at least, to protect the people who voted for you. Now, Professor, first of all, let me just tell you, Dakota, he really does believe he doesn't have an accent. So what he said about the New Jersey, he actually believes it. Just so you know, I've worked. I'm just telling you, he believes it, but don't judge him by that on everything else he said. Everything else you can take seriously. Now, Dakota, people are looking and saying, they're obviously pretending that they don't see what we see. So maybe that's because they're so frightened by what is actually happening here, which is military aircraft, drones, manned or unmanned, looking for this nuclear material that went missing. And we saw the report that a Cat 3 material went missing from some truck or something in transport. And that's what they're looking for in Jersey. Nukes.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. So this is all just kind of reminded me a little bit of the flying saucer scares in the 1950s. But we're in a different technological age, and there are these drones around, right, that were not around before, and we also have the heritage of the Cold War with the nuclear arsenal.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. See this. Cat 3. Siri. I have my site, that's why OF came up. Chill out. Let's see. Actually, I have a few. Let's see. Category 3. Radioactive material versus quantity of radioactive material, if not properly managed or secured, could cause permanent injury to a person who handled it or was exposed for several hours. Considered a significant amount of radiation, but not large enough to immediately be fatal, exposed for a period of long time. Mission sources. As defined by the International Atomic Energy Agency. An amount of radioactive material, if not safely managed or securely protected, could cause permanent injury to a person. How was DOE directives? Possibly unlikely to be fatal. Although it is unlikely be fatal, close amount unshielded radioactive material for a period. So, this does not answer. This doesn't answer. Yeah, this doesn't fucking answer anything. Regulatory oversight due to potential risk. Category 3 materials are subject to risk regulations, security measures. What can be found in this? I want to know, where can these be found? Let me see here. Where can Category 3 in my backyard? Fixed industrial gauges, like level gauges, conveyor gauges, dredger gauges, spinning pipe gauges, well logging gauges, essentially devices used in industrial settings, measure levels of thickness materials, yada 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 yada, where the radioactive source is sealed within the device, not meant to be handled directly. Key points: potential harm. How many people can it hurt? If it's not handled. So this is Cat 3 supposedly. Cat 1, Appendix A to Part 37, Cat 1. Well, there are different categories of radioactivity. I told that guy, if I'm wrong, then I deserve to eat shit pretty much. Okay? I said that. I could be wrong. But we need to... Some fractions, methodology, value combinations, iridium. This is how you make a dirty... Never mind, I don't want to go there. I better not joke about stuff like that. Cat 1. Cat 2, Cat 3. So different, quite different. Oh, these are higher and lower. These. Some fractions methodology values. Combinations of multiple sources or multiple radion Clydes. Clydes, radion Clydes. What the fuck? I used to know all these words to includes radion Clydes. Now Clydes have multiple radion Clydes aggregated locations, sum of ratios of the total activity of each radion Clydes must be determined to verify whether the activities at the location is less than category 1, category 2 thresholds, table 1. Damn, I need to go back to school. I'm getting high from some of this. Doing stuff, astrophysics, physics stuff. Okay, categories, radion sources. Radiation. Like, we've just been over where it does. Category 1. This is category 1. We're going to go through the different categories here. Category 1 sources, if not safely or securely managed, would be likely to cause a permanent injury to a person. But what is the radius of a Cat 3? There are different categories here, as we can see. Yes, category 5 is what I was talking about in X-ray equipment, which over time can cause damage to itself, alright? If it's way too much exposure. 43 about safely reactive material. Period or days. Likely to be fatal. Okay, let's go here. Because we could be wrong about category as well. It could change and everything else. Category 3 sources, if not safely or securely managed, could cause permanent injury to a person who handled them or otherwise in contact with them for hours. Hours, that's, yeah, wow, that's not good. Could possibly, although unlikely, be fatal. Although it is unlikely to be fatal, to be close to this amount of unshielded, that means open sort, you get what I'm saying? Material for a period of days. These sources are typically used in fixed industrial gauges. So yeah, this is an industry. Conveyor gauges, spinning pipe gauges. Let me get back to this. I'm going to get this.
Friend of show, and Professor Dakota Rudisill.
Yes.
And you can tell me if I mangled your name. I do it all the time.
You
Professor,
did.
how do I say your name the right way?
You nailed it. Rudisill.
Darn!
30 years studying nuclear
Would be
weapons,
interesting
working
if you
Homeland
did.
Security, understands, okay? First of all, let's start on the political. And Professor, you listen to what I hear from Tim. If you got any questions, let me know. Representative, I have it right that there's a classified
Tim, I
briefing,
thought
right?
more highly
Why
of
do you
you.
guys need one if there's nothing?
Would you pause it? I expect you to work when I'm talking to you. This is... Okay, Tim Burkett, I thought more highly of you until you spin this propaganda war machine stuff. Yes, China has all... China number one. Okay, fine. I have a little ovation to me, so everybody says racist. Shut the fuck up, alright? The thing is, I thought, better of him because he wants to get the truth about ETs and UFOs out, declassified. He does this. I'm a little pissed about that. I don't like that.
To see here.
There was a classified briefing last week. I didn't go to it, Chris, because and thank you for having me back on, brother.
Of course.
They bring you into the briefing, and then you can't talk about it. And if you do, you can be brought up on charges. And even if it's something you already know, which you and I think I know what's going on with some of this. I don't think they're sniffing out nuclear stuff. I don't blame that guy for saying that. Everybody's got a theory on it.
Everybody does. Everybody
my,
does.
My Liars Club,
And
coffee club every Saturday morning.
What are
They
you
got a
doing on
theory on
that
it
site?
too. But the reality is, I think it's a combination of everything.
What are you doing
if I
on
can
that
go
site?
into that, is that all right?
You use the time as you want, sir. You serve
All
the
right,
people.
brother. Well, I think I think you've got a combination of things going on. You've got some copycats, but I do think the Chinese are using this. They have componentry and everything we've got. The camera that's filming me right now is Chinese. They have their componentry in our fighter pilots, and there was a report out a while back, and it's been talked about a lot that they're afraid they could have the capabilities of even turning off some of our jets.
Oh my God! Yeah. We had that before the Chinese. We had this before the Chinese. So if anything, they re-engineered what we had or whatever. They got it or whatever. They found a way to make their own. Which they're smart people. They can do that too. Even though they copy off our F-117 and stealth technologies. I don't know why. I think they built... Their people are usually smarter than Americans. A lot smarter than us in school. A lot. They put us to shame in schools, man. You have to learn all these different languages, stuff like that. The math is way higher than ours. Oh my God. Just like in Japan, it's a lot different. The people here, oh my God. The people that graduate here will be put on a C team. Or a B team at best. You know, they call a lot of us degenerates in some ways. It's just sub. But getting back to this. This is not helping, Tim. Timmy. Where is Tim anyway?
If we were to get into a conflict with them. I don't know if they're behind 100% this, but they are monitoring this. You remember that Chinese spy balloon?
Weather balloon.
Yeah. That thing flew over the Aleutian Islands, came down, went across the country, transversed, turned directions, came back around, took in Oak Ridge National Laboratory in my backyard there in Tennessee. Did everything. Then they shot it down off the coast of Myrtle Beach. Now, the Chinese are cold and calculated. They look at everything that we do. They monitor every movement. They're monitoring. And on that thing, they didn't really have to do much spying because, honestly, they've got people in our colleges and universities. They've got...
Oh, my fucking God, dude. I see your face. Dude. You're smiling about it like this is a fucking joke, dude. What the hell is wrong with you? Dude, you're even making these faces, dude. Oh, my God. What is it? I mean, okay, we've had a lot of Chinese come through the border. In his defense, the Biden administration allowed all these Chinese people to come through. They've taken over a lot of our farmland as well. They've taken a lot of our farmland. And they can control a lot of our food. That's not good. But our stupid American law system and the way that capitalism is in this country, any country can buy up our land and use it for themselves. That's not good. You know, we should have laws in place against that, but we don't. Burkett. What did I do with you? What did I do with you? What are you doing?
I mean, they had a member of Congress had a relationship with a known spy. You had a known spy that was a driver for a U.S. senator for 10 years, for goodness sakes. So I think what they're monitoring is our response. And you are correct.
What a joke
we are going to end up moving on off this thing, and then something's going to happen major because of these drones, because we are not paying attention to it. And I firmly believe that the Chinese are monitoring this. They have componentry in these things. They know where they are. They know what's going on. And they are watching our political reaction, our military reaction, and just our press reaction to this thing. And for our White House to kind of poo-poo it, to me, sends the wrong message. I think you should take the American public serious. They're concerned about this. New Jersey I know a bunch of folks up there in New Jersey since I've been in Congress. They talk funny, but they're good folks. And that was one of the most compliant areas during COVID, if you remember. But these folks are not compliant about these drones.
They're in Cuomo's space and like, did you really have to say that? Did you really have to? He's gonna say it.
Incredibly heightened about it, and they should be. So, and that's basically it. That's what I think it is. So well, you know, they've got.
I don't want you to tell us what you hear.
I do.
I don't want to tell us what we hear tomorrow because I don't want you to be thrown in jail. But hopefully,
let me tell you, I would say it anyway. I'd say fuck you. The government is supposed to protect us. They're accountable to the American people. We vote these pieces of trash into office, and they have all their corruption, all their dirty laundry, and they have it out there, and they keep all these secrets from us, including the $200+ million hush fund that they have to silence victims of sexual harassment, etc. There's a lot of secret stuff people don't know about that I do that goes on in there. Like what drafts into law and stuff like that, pork barrel spending. They go behind closed doors and they do stuff like this, and then they say it's top secret. What they're doing is ripping you off in these closed sessions, taking your money.
You won't even go. I probably won't even be invited to this one. You know, they usually tell me about 15 minutes before these things. They usually don't want people like myself in those meetings.
I hope if you get information, you're able to use it at least, to protect the people who voted for you. Now, Professor, first of all, let me just tell you, Dakota, he really does believe he doesn't have an accent. So what he said about the New Jersey, he actually believes it. Just so you know, I've worked. I'm just telling you, he believes it. But don't judge him by that on everything else he said. Everything else you can take seriously. Now, Dakota, people are looking and saying, they're obviously pretending that they don't see what we see. So maybe that's because they're so frightened by what is actually happening here, which is military aircraft, drones, manned or unmanned, looking for this nuclear material that went missing. And we saw the report.
Small item is gone missing in transit. Radiological materials are part of our lives in medical settings and other
settings. And that's what they're looking for in Jersey. Nukes.
But
thanks for having me on. So this has all just kind of reminded me a little bit of the flying saucer scares in the 1950s. But we're in a different technological age, and there are these drones around, right, that were not around before, and we also have the heritage of the Cold War with the nuclear arsenals that were built then, and smaller arsenals are around today, and obviously radiological materials are part of our lives in medical settings and other settings. So looking at this document from the New Jersey EPA, it looks like basically what they're saying is that there was a small component from a medical scanner which uses germanium-68, which is a radiological material, but this small item has gone missing in transit. If you read the document itself, it underscores very, very clearly that there's minimal health risk from this. So just based on that document, I wouldn't be concerned about a risk to the public.
You could get SARS, you could get COVID. Who knows? What kind of dirty bomb is this? They're going to try and hype it up and say it's a huge nuclear weapon. It's going to kill tens of thousands. This is what they do. They're going to blame Mother Russia, Mother, Father China, whatever the fuck they call her, whatever. They're saying it's you guys. They're saying, oh, it's you guys. They went back and forth. It's like the Phil Collins song. Superman, where are you now? This is a land of confusion. And there's not much love to go around.
And frankly, I wouldn't connect that up with the drones at all. I just there are no facts I've seen in the public record that would suggest that
with medical equipment. Medical equipment. The drones and sniffing devices are not going to find it. It's too small. Okay? Unless you're right next to it and you have one of these radio Geiger counters. Right next to it, unless you're right next to it. Or somebody's right out a needle ready to shoot you with it. You have a Geiger counter. Say, oh my, what's this? You ain't gonna... I apologize to that guy. Hey, if I'm wrong, I gotta eat shit, right? I do. I mean, I gotta admit that. If there's something bigger. But everything else, I know I'm right on. I know it. Okay? So...
that there's some sort of search underway for this piece.
Now look at Tim Burkett here. Look at his face. He went silent on this, like it's not a real threat, like it's meaningless. His emotions, the way that he's handling himself. He's not worried about this. Okay, doing a psychological profile on this guy, which I could do with a lot of people. This is nothing to him. It's like this is just another diversion, okay? Look at him. There's going to be plenty of stupid politicians saying, this is this, or this country, or that, and we need to tell them to shut the F up, put out the truth, or stop putting these drones in our skies and giving people anxiety attacks. There's real UFOs that are in the skies. There are these drones in the skies, and there's re-engineered craft, and then there's, classified drones being used with technologies that haven't been used before. In this arena, and on a global scale, this is happening, though. So, I mean, these things can't be tracked. These blink in and out. It's like some of the stuff is kind of stuff that's been tested from Dugway, or, I don't want to say Area 51 because that's a diversion. I know of a lot of stuff that happens at Area 51 and at these other secret bases. I know a lot about that stuff. And the thing is, these could be going in and out of their sewage pipes or whatever. I just try to make funny out of it. Their vents, ventilation system or whatever. You have sea bases that we got underwater. We have submarines or whatever, destroyers, sea assets that can be sending this stuff. Some stuff is hypersonic, supersonic, subsonic, all kind of sonics involved. Here's sonic, there's sonic. Old McDonald had a sonic times sonic here. So,
this component from some medical scanner, right? Using some sort of secret drone
hurry up, internet
operation. Much less there's, some government entity which is using drones off New Jersey to look for a loose nuclear weapon. I mean, there's just no. So I've worked with nuclear issues my career.
Look, he's laughing his ass off. This says a lot. He's laughing his freaking ass off about being a lost nuclear weapon. Unless you look like what I just did, and I pretty much said, what is this, a medical thing? Cat 3, and there was a Cat 4, Cat 5, which is medical devices. Let's go here, people. Because Okay, that is the fluorescent lighting. Okay, electron capture. That's a Cat 5. They're talking about Cat 3. Right here. Period of days, 2 weeks. Use of fixed industrial gauges was also illicit equipment and other industrial equipment. So this isn't a nuclear warhead that could blow up a whole city. These are like little mini devices that you hold in your hand and you put into a device. You power it up, you use it for medical or whatever purposes. Because if you have, this is what civilians don't know. Civilians don't know anything about radioactive devices. If you have one of these devices, you have to also tell federal authorities have to know about this. The feds do. They have to track it. So say they lost this, we have a bunch of idiots in the federal system, the FBI, as well. They cannot track these radioactive things. They cannot track it when this stuff has to be cataloged with federal authorities, with law enforcement. Do you get what I'm saying here? You have to register this equipment by law. Like me and you cannot just exchange it with a brother and sister on the street, gang member and stuff like that. You have to go through a process with state, local, and federal authorities to transfer these devices to get these. There are laws in federal, state, local laws that are in place. If you have one of these have to be tracked. You can't have a felony. You can't have a criminal history. So, this is why he laughed his ass off about it. This is why he did. Hopefully enough people see this. Hopefully enough people will see this. Because we need to get to the nitty gritty and we need to fact check everybody. We need to do our own investigations and stuff. And we need to educate ourselves. Because government, even you, are going to spin this the way you want to create political and warmongering war. So
30 years, including focusing a lot on the question of loose nukes out of the former Soviet Union. And there's nothing in the public record today that suggests that we are at a greater risk from a Soviet-built nuclear weapon than we were 2 weeks ago or 15 years ago.
This is the thing. I have a lot of intelligence and people and reports going in and out of here. If Russia wanted to really do us bad, if they really wanted to create a war, they would give a nuclear warhead to a terrorist state or a faction. They say, here, do with this what you want. Put on a drone. Let them have it. They haven't done that yet. Now, before there were drones, there were planes, Cessnas, or whatever. Fixed wing craft or whatever. They haven't done that yet. We have gone over this. I have gone over this decades ago. I went over this and I talked with people. Not on this channel, of course, because I have other media. I use different names and stuff like that because I like being anonymous. I also deal with the adult industry. I have reasons why I want to be anonymous. And that's for privacy and stuff. And where, people won't talk to me or associate with me because of my name here or there. Anonymity gets me connections. That's what it does. And I'm going to stay anonymous. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to say where I am, what media places, etc. That's me. And I didn't do business because of connections. If I go visible, and a lot of other people do this too. Okay, they do this, so they don't lose their sources, connections, because then people say, well, if you're dealing with this people or that group of people, and deal with the other side, we're not going to have anything to do with you. So, there's good reason for me to have been doing media throughout, decades using different names and stuff like that. So,
the risk was largest when the Soviet Empire cracked up in the late 80s and the early 1990s. And then there were tens of thousands of Soviet nuclear weapons scattered across 15 Soviet republics. And then in the Red Army occupied parts of Eastern Europe. And the security was terrible. The accounting was awful. And the United States worked closely with Russia for a couple of decades after the end of the Cold War through the Nunn-Lugar CTR program to round up.
Let me stop you there, Dakota.
So, yeah.
Let me stop you there, because I understand exactly what you're saying, but you're also way beyond what people who are watching are going to be wanting. All they want to know is, are they looking for nukes now? You say no, good. But I'll end with a quick anecdote.
They're not
that'll date me, but Dakota will impress you. You were just saying the past senators Nunn and Lugar, they did a bipartisan, go to Russia and help them clean up their biologics and get rid of any small suitcase style.
They're going to tell us to get the fuck out, Cuomo. They're going to say, fuck you, we're at war with you guys. Do you think they're going to do that, Cuomo? Come on, brother.
Nukes they're worried about. I did a story for them. They asked the media, why don't you cover this instead of chasing after our girlfriends all the time? I went to Russia, to outer Siberia.
People have told me to stop chasing after my girlfriends as well. Let's move on.
A place called Shucha. And in a barn, this is not a joke, I'm not exaggerating any of this. In a barn that they sealed with a wax seal and a piece of rope at night is where they kept their chemical weapons. On wine racks that went all the way back in this huge barn, that was their security for those. I was part of that. You were right then. They were worried about it. It was the last time our government worked together because of a bigger concern than their own advantage, in my opinion. Senators from the right and the left got money to clean those up, and it made a big difference. You're right, Dakota, and thank you for setting us straight about this. It won't stop the speculation, but I don't blame you for that. I don't blame the people online either. I blame the people in power who are charged with giving people the information they need so they can have the confidence they must. Congressman Burchett, always a pleasure. I'll talk to you before Christmas for sure. Take care.
All right.
It's a government that's creating this pool of conspiracy and this idiocy from all of us, including some with me, probably. So this is why we're doing this. I mean, I always say that I'm right. I have to a certain extent, but I'm dead wrong also on certain little parts as well. Usually I am always right when it comes to UFOs and stuff like that. Usually I am. But sometimes I could be a little off as well. And if I don't acknowledge that I'm wrong, I'm just a piece of shit. If I don't acknowledge that I could be wrong, and I could be, it's like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And what happened in Arizona, let's go to Arizona. Where is this Arizona? Drone origins, have we already been there? Drone hunting. Let's go JLR. Give him a shout out.
JLR investigates.
Yes.
Drone madness. Drones.
Yes. Where's the
All across the sky in the U.S.
Yes.
Mysterious big drones being
It
spotted
is.
all over the place.
Yes.
Everyone is asking, what in the world is
It's
going
in your
on?
hands.
Where are these drones coming from? Who
It's in your
owns these
hands.
drones? Big drones, the size of SUVs.
It's your fault, JLR.
Now, we've been covering this case extensively
You
on
started
JLR
the fire.
Investigates. The latest up-to-date of what's being put out. Politicians now are demanding answers and calling for drone detection systems to be implemented, particularly in New York. Now, in New Jersey, this seems like this is the epicenter of all these mysterious drones that are out there in the sky.
Coming out of the lakes, coming out of the ponds.
Military bases.
They're coming out of
over
our
Trump's golf course, flying over churches, schools, airports.
ears.
Everyone wants answers. One particular New Jersey sheriff is doing his own drone hunting with his own drone. The sheriff of Ocean County, New Jersey, is putting up drones into the sky to investigate the drones that are already in the sky. They're doing their own hunting. I'm going to share this clip with you about the sheriff of Ocean County, New Jersey, and then we will further discuss. Check it out.
20 minutes to the top of the hour in News Nation, digging into the Northeast drone mystery as
Hey,
frustration grows and grows over the lack of answers here. Information remains scarce, even as some officials now say they have seen the drones
it's a
firsthand.
UFO.
News
No,
Nation's
that's a
Rich
drone.
McHugh joins us
That's a
live from
drone,
New York
people.
this morning with more. Rich, you've been talking to a lot of different people, a lot of different sources about these drones. Where have they been seen? What are officials saying this morning? We need the latest.
Good morning, Marky. So this is just such a baffling story. We're a month into this whole intrigue, and the number of these drone sightings is increasing. Military installations are now reporting them. Airports are now reporting them, and so few answers from actual federal officials. Ohio's Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, they closed their airspace due to drones. Stewart Airport in New York shut down their runway for an entire hour.
That makes no fucking sense. We got lasers, we got, like I said yesterday, we can shoot them down, or military installations, they have the authority to do that. They don't need the president to do that. They already have authority to do that without permission. It was already granted to the military, and he decides to shoot them down. If I fly a drone, this is the bullshit. This is the scam that they're putting out. Is that if I flew a plane, a Cessna, over Area 51 or military installation, they could shoot me down. They already have that right. If I fly over the White House, you can bet your ass I would be blown up. These other drones seem to be exempt.
Due to drone activity, the Department of Defense has confirmed sightings at Picatinny Arsenal and Naval Weapons Stations Earl in New Jersey, but defense officials say they have no intel that indicates these drones are malicious or for a foreign actor. But at the same time, they say they don't know where they're from. Now, I spoke with a sheriff of Ocean County, New Jersey. His team is sending up their drones to investigate. He says he got a call from an officer who called 911 after seeing 50 of them come off the ocean, which ended up getting the Coast Guard involved. Take a look.
50. That was my reaction.
Yeah,
also,
we've been over
there were
this.
50 that were coming off the ocean.
And this is a sworn officer.
A sworn officer, yes. We contacted the state police, we contacted the FBI, we contacted the Coast Guard, at which point the Coast Guard went out with their boat, and they reported seeing 13 following their boat. And then the Coast Guard also advised that they went over them about 300 feet and had a wingspan of about 8 feet.
Now, when we were reporting in Red Bank, New Jersey, we received numerous tips,
blame
video
Carly
tips
for this.
from residents like this who say they kept seeing flying objects like the one you see here, like right overhead Red Bank, New Jersey. We filmed a few miles away, several spots not far from Naval Weapons Station Earl, and we're quite sure we were seeing the same unusual stuff.
Those look like, now, right there, of course, they look like UFOs or orbs that
people had been reporting. Low flying, appear to hover above residential areas.
Yeah, there's a huge
over the past few days, I've looked at flight radar during those hours in proximity to where we were, It did not show planes overhead. There were planes nearby, miles away, though. I also spoke with multiple drone and aviation experts and asked them to look at our footage in the spirit of transparency. A CEO of a drone company told me he believes they're planes, what we were seeing. But I spoke with an aviation expert, a pilot of 43 years, both military and commercial. He said the exact opposite, that he sees drones. So bottom line, Marky, we don't know. We simply don't know. And it's what makes this story so difficult to report and why we need answers from our federal government. And we're not getting them.
And if there are dozens or hundreds of them, why we can't somehow just take down one to study it, to see what's going on?
Of course, some have been downed. Some have been downed. Where is the investigation? Somebody's doing one. There was a few that were downed. We don't know what happened to those. That one UFO from Arizona. One UFO from Arizona. Do I have it on this screen? Have that. Boom, 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 boom. Let me see. Where is that one? That was JLR also, but let's see what's going on here. I want to be sure it's the right one. That's New Jersey. Where's that one from Arizona where that drone got blown out of the sky? That was 2 months ago. See, it didn't happen just a month. Look at this. This was 2 months ago. Yeah, they can be. Lasers can. Do not shoot at these drones. Bears can be a problem with drone sightings too. Bears don't like drones. Bears don't like. This is what happens when drones come out. The bears come out, and holy shit! Never mind. Here it goes. This is it right here. This is it. This is it.
Something's going up real fast.
Yeah.
A plane?
It's a plane. It's a bird. It's a drone.
Whoa, is that moving quick?
Okay, this is it, yeah.
That could be a drone.
As I said,
That is quick.
this thing is communicating, blinking.
There's only
See
one
how it's
name
practically
on it.
blinking? It's communicating with that orb.
Whatever that
It's
thing
communicating.
flashing is, she
We're
moves
trying
quick
to.
around it to get it.
Goes this orb. Look at that. It's chattering with that orb.
Super quick.
And then, this is just beautiful. Chattering. Chattering. When it's blinking.
Oh, he's like right on it. Ooh, that whatever it was just shut down the drone.
What happened to that drone? Thing is, don't mess with real UFOs. They'll kick your ass. Whether it's ours or theirs, don't mess with tech that can whip your ass or throw bullets or missiles back at you. That was beautiful. That is just gorgeous. I love that.
Ooh, that whatever it was just shut down the drone. If that was a drone.
Yeah, I can look at that all day. And there are others that that fell out of the sky somehow, and drone news, Tano news. I want to see. Let's see. I can't go with this together here. 4 hours, 6 hours ago.
Drones spotted in New Jersey. They're urging the public do not shine laser pointers at them after several incidents of plane and helicopter pilots getting hit with the lasers in their eyes during flights.
Right. The White House finally has broken its silence on the topic, saying that the drones seen over the Northeast are a mix, they say, of law enforcement, commercial, and hobbyist drones, saying no public or national security threat has been found.
We got ABC's Perry Russin with the latest.
The White House today working to calm concern over the reported drones hovering over the Northeast.
There's no national security threat we're seeing at this time and no threat to public safety.
ABC News cannot confirm what these videos show. National Security spokesman John Kirby on GMA this morning saying people are seeing a mix of law enforcement, commercial, and hobbyist drones in the sky.
Most of these aircraft are doing good things. They're delivering products. They're being tested for science purposes. They're conducting law enforcement missions.
Drones have been reported in...
Let it go to Pentagon.
Prime Minister and Minister.
I want to get this.
To Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of State for Defense Affairs, His Excellency Sheikh Saud Al Thani. During their call, the Secretary reaffirmed the U.S.-Qatar Defense Partnership, reviewed opportunities to enhance defense cooperation, and discussed regional security developments. The Secretary emphasized the Department's commitment to regional de-escalation through deterrence and diplomacy, including through U.S. efforts to support implementation of the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, uphold the enduring defeat of ISIS, and degrade Houthi military capabilities, jeopardizing the free flow of commerce in the Red Sea. He further reinforced the urgent need to secure the release of all hostages held by Hamas and achieve a ceasefire in Gaza. A readout of the call is now available on defense.gov. Also, yesterday, U.S. Central Command forces conducted a precision airstrike against a key command and control facility operated by Iran-backed Houthis within Houthi-controlled.
I don't want the full video. Where is the last part?
Mission right now. Last question, Mike.
I know you're hoping for a drone question, so let me oblige you.
Okay.
You say that there are these sightings. Why do most of the sightings seem to be around New Jersey? I mean, it's the Garden State and all, but what is so special about New Jersey that it's getting most of the attention from this? I've never seen drones here. I've never seen them flying around Virginia. And second question, drone-related question. I know we are building on you're developing the military's ability to detect drones. Are you also working on their ability to defeat drones in the air?
Yeah, absolutely. To answer your last question, and I would encourage you to go take a look at the counter unmanned strategy that we put out, just last week, that talks about the approach that we're going to take. And that includes the ability to defeat drones both kinetically and non-kinetically. And so, again, looking at places like Ukraine, we've seen the impact that drones can have on the battlefield, and so it's something that the department's taking very seriously. As for your question in terms of the preponderance of sightings, reported sightings in the New Jersey Northeast corridor, I can't answer that question, Mike. Personal experience, I have seen drones in D.C. I've seen drones, personal drones flying around. And as I've mentioned from this podium before, one of my close relatives is a private drone operator. And I'm sure some of that person's neighbors have often wondered, what that drone is doing. Without taking a holistic snapshot of every single privately operated drone across the United States, some of which can be that big, some of which can be that big, it's hard to know specifically, why at this point in time. And again, as was highlighted in the joint statement, the current assessment explains what we think most of those are. to include piloted manned aircraft. The last thing I would say on it, again, completely understand the concerns, completely, will reinforce we're taking this seriously. It's sometimes when you focus on something, suddenly you notice more. And so, there's always the potential that because of the heightened awareness, now we're just more aware of this particular issue. But again, we'll continue to take this very seriously. We'll continue to take appropriate action if and when it's deemed that any of these drones near U.S. military installations pose a threat. But in the meantime, again, I think it's been very clear that we've not identified that any of these reported drone sightings were assessed as anomalous, or that it presented a national security or public safety risk over civilian airspace in New Jersey or other states in the Northeast. All right.
This is part of this testing corridor between Dover Air Force Base and Joint Base McGuire.
Yes. Thank you. All right.
Can I ask you a follow-up? I apologize. It's based off his question.
Now, you just came in the briefing room, so.
Negative. I came in.
You flew in on your drone?
But thank you.
That's okay.
Normally my pattern, but you talked about the military bases. Has there been a surge in counter detection equipment that has been sent to military bases? I'm aware that DHS has sent other equipment to the New Jersey area. Is any of that include DoD equipment, or is that strictly all DHS?
As I highlighted earlier, for Picatinny, we did send some additional active and passive detection capabilities, as well as some counter-drone capabilities. Those are the only ones, and Earl, those are the only ones I'm tracking right now. But again, if we need to look at other installations, we certainly can, but I don't have anything else to.
When you say active and passive, I mean, that is just strictly detection, or is that actually to bring drones down?
So active and passive detection, different methods to be able to detect drones using different capabilities, right? So passive measures would essentially be, it just has the ability to receive signals without emitting signals. Whereas active would be like radar. I bounce the signal off and it bounces back, right? And then separate from that would be counter UAS capabilities, things like let me make sure I get the name right here, like drone busters, which essentially emits a signal which is able to interrupt the signal on the drone, which can affect its flight. So that's a methodology that we have that is able to essentially bring drones down non-kinetically should we need to do that.
Like EMP, pretty much type of devices that we got. So we have our own type of. Honestly, we have re-engineered stuff as well. That have an EMP type of effect and just go down like that. Chinese have that. UK, Russia has their stuff as well. So let's see here. Let's see here.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
So, I've had the privilege of interacting with a lot of government organizations over the past few years as I've been digging down this rabbit hole. Law enforcement at a federal level, DOD, executive branch, legislative branch, and some of the folks that I've come in contact with, they specifically work on weapons of mass destruction. Okay, so that's their job. So if there's a loose nuke in the United States, among other agencies, they would be some of the people that would be sitting in a skiff for 24 hours a day trying to figure out where it is and to go get it, right? So you can imagine that would be their number one priority, right? So I engage with these folks. I ask them, what's the sense here? People are kind of starting to panic a little bit, and this message is getting out there more and more broadly. And they assured me that's not the case, that there is not a loose nuke or other type of weapon of mass destruction, that these objects, whatever they are are pursuing right now. Otherwise, they would be working in a skiff nonstop to make that go away, that problem go away. So, that's part of why I have a high confidence level that this is not a response to a massive imminent, weapons of mass destruction threat on the eastern seaboard. So I just want to try to dispel that rumor right now. I've seen a lot of talk of that online, and I don't, although this is I think a dangerous and scary situation that's going on right now, at least from that particular angle, that's not the indications I'm receiving.
So how would they persuaded you? Just by saying that's not the case? Or have they given you any information that leads to this conclusion?
They would be the people actively working it, essentially, right? So,
and they're
not working it, right? So the government is holding back that secret from the direct resources within the government that are responsible for finding these systems, or they're not working the issue because there isn't an issue there to work.
So the thing that I had heard was that it was a missing nuke from Ukraine. And if that was the case, what could they do? Is there any truth to this idea that we have the type of drone capability that we could send these things out and they would search for gamma radiation and they'd be able to find a nuke? Is that?
Like I said, we already talked about that. There's anyone new here. These are pretty much the size of stuff that you have in, of course, X-ray machines, stuff like that. So drones would not be able to see them or read them. I should say read them, track them. You'd have to be right next to it. They have a Geiger counter, at least called a Geiger counter, to see if it's radioactive. This is not a nuclear warhead that could kill thousands, hundreds, or thousands, or hundreds of thousands of people. As we said with Tim Burkett, he laughed his ass off about, saying, this is a nuclear warhead. It's not. If they thought it was, people, would say so, I'd hope. But he would have laughed his ass off about it. So, the news and everything is going to try and spin it. Some people try to spin it and say that it's a nuke. It's not. They're not a nuke. It's just radioactive by what it gives off. Stuff you use in labs and stuff like that. Industrial type of devices. That's a lot different from a nuclear weapon.
So there are teams that respond to those types of potential emergencies, typically within the Department of Energy. Having potentially hundreds of drones flying around trying to identify these isn't necessarily the best way. Gamma radiation is typically well shielded in weapons, and at very high altitudes or even moderate altitudes, like we're seeing these objects, it would be pretty difficult to detect them. And the way that NIST, the DOE, typically operates in this environment is ground-based teams searching for radiation itself. So it's not necessarily consistent with how they would do it to begin with. And then based off of that other information, that's what leads me to believe that's not the case.
Well, that makes me feel better because I was freaking out this weekend.
I think a lot of people were.
Yeah, I got a couple. But it's one of those things, especially in this day and age with social media. There's so many narratives that get spread and retweeted. And, I know a guy who's an insider and he says to get out of the East Coast and, head for Nevada or, there's a lot of that shit going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different versions of these drones, and this is what's weird.
There is.
If they weren't ours, if they're not ours, you would think that they could just track them and find out, well, where are they landing, who's got them, how are they being used, is it RFI, like radio frequency, is it some sort of a different technology that's allowing them to pilot these things?
This is the difference, is that these are using different types of frequencies, radio, digital, whatever. These are not civilian ones. So these can't, from what they've been saying, authorities are saying, they can't bring them down. So they're making all these laws that are hurt civilians in their use of drones for peaceful applications and for jobs and, Amazon shipping and stuff like that. And they're going to only hurt the people instead of the government that's really doing this BS. So Joe Rogan, are you there?
What is it?
Yeah.
They'd be able to tune into that and figure it out, right? So how come no one's been arrested? How come no one's been caught? How come they haven't, tracked these things down to the source?
Yeah, so there's a lot of good questions there. Let me back up by starting with the fact that this started about 2 years ago, at least.
Not like this.
A little bit like this.
Really?
So,
in this volume?
Not in this volume. That's the differentiator right there. But so Langley Air Force Base, you might be familiar with the fact that they had drone incursions of an unknown type, unknown origin last year.
Right.
That happened during about a 2.5, 3 week period right before Christmas. Right where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
That also happened the year before over Langley. Unknown objects operating over the base. They couldn't tell where they were going. They were unprepared for them. Same period of time, 2-3 weeks before Christmas. This is year 3, right? And they were expecting them to come again for third year in a row over Langley. And there was, some effort put forward to be able to better understand these when they came back. And they did come back, but they came back in a much wider swath, right? Now we have them all over New Jersey, all the way up to Massachusetts. And it's hard to tell exactly with the quality of the reporting right now because it seems to be, the bigger the story gets, the more people are just looking up and seeing anything and pointing it out. But there are reports from Texas to Florida to California, Ohio, Minnesota, Pennsylvania. I mean, it's not just New Jersey itself, it seems. And even the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base was shut down for a drone incursion just this last Friday, a couple of days ago.
Stuff. I just call it bullshit.
So this isn't just a one-off event. It is in the sense that it's so large and so many people are paying attention to it. But this has been occurring for at least 3 years around military bases, and that's nothing to say with the incidents that we were seeing over the Eastern Seaboard and other training ranges that fighter pilots were seeing as they were doing their operations. So I'm a little hesitant to link it to the full story that we've been having here, this full conversation, but at least for 3 years this has been occurring.
Like I said, it was been put out by News Nation. This is happening around the world. This is not just the U.S. So,
kind of getting back to your question, why can't we do more about it? It's a hard problem, I think, for a number of reasons. It's hard, but it's very solvable, right? I think this can be solved. We can solve it. But right now, kind of the word on the street is that these objects appear to be coming from over the ocean. There's senior congressmen, there's Coast Guard personnel, there's law enforcement. They're seeing a large number of these come from somewhere over the ocean. I don't know if that means necessarily they're popping out of the water physically or if they're coming from some unknown location in the water and then proceeding over the coast. I don't know how that relates to Ohio. That's a pretty long trip if they are coming over the ocean.
It is.
And from the videos I've seen and the conversation I've had, they are detecting these objects.
And only government military drones could do that, whereas civilian drones cannot go from the ocean. They'll have a certain amount of miles. That could, like few miles compared to hundreds of miles. There's a huge difference between civilian drones and military government, industrial drones. So,
through kind of normal mechanisms like radar systems, optical camera systems, they are flying very low. In some cases, they seem to be operating as a group. In the vicinity of each other, flying past each other, flying very up close to each other, and then proceeding to do whatever they are that they're doing. It's an unknown right now if they are emitting energy or not. So, like radio communications or their own maybe active sensor systems. It's unknown. I've poked on that front, and best I can tell, the government doesn't know.
What I've seen is some of the pulsating that some have, yeah, they are emitting stuff. They are pulsating and stuff like that. So they have been doing that.
Oh, either.
That seems so weird that they don't know that. Like, it's just very disturbing that someone could operate these things and have, I mean, how many, what is the estimated number of them?
That's a great question. I mean, at this point, I'm comfortable making a guess of probably over 800 or 1,000.
No, from what I heard, it's 10,000 sightings and all. That was another site, though. I can't look it up, but...
And how many of those are sightings of the same object? How many of those are individual objects? How many of those are unique objects? Right. So it's tough to say, but this isn't just a few objects that people are seeing. And so I can imagine some technologies that will allow traditional UAVs or drones to operate without emitting, right? So they could be, they could have a self-contained navigational system, right? Maybe they have their own onboard maps and they're using cameras to map where they are.
So then they would be completely autonomous. You just send them out there and they would have a task and they would go through whatever their task is and navigate via their GPS or whatever tracking system they're using.
Exactly. And then, what is their task, right?
Right.
Is it just to instill panic and fear? Is it because they're sensing something? And if they are sensing something, they would have to be using what's called passive sensors, right? So like a camera system is passive, but if you're shooting a radar out and having it bounce off of something, that's active, right? And that's easier to detect than a passive system.
That's what radar does.
So I could imagine, a fully self-contained autonomous drone system that is doing something potentially with passive sensors that allows it to operate without emissions, which is going to make it harder to track.
If they're doing it at night, if they do have passive systems, like some sort of an optical system, wouldn't that be hindered by the low light conditions, or do we have stuff that is able to detect whatever they're looking for at night?
Yeah, depends what they're looking for, but ultimately there is tech. There's electro-optical systems, there's infrared camera systems, not unlike the jets
we have that,
or the systems that we had on my jet. But we were able to detect these objects with infrared when we were flying off the eastern seaboard. There are a number of reports from law enforcement that their infrared systems are not able to pick these objects up. And not just this year, but also the incidents over Langley last year. The pilots...
This is one reason why I say this is also part of a PSYOP, where government is doing this to see how good these new technologies that they're using, how good are they? And we're being a test bed, civilians and law enforcement and some lower levels, FBI, Homeland Security, that aren't in the know. This is just a huge experiment to see what our new drones and other government drones or other countries this is happening to. They're seeing, hey, how good is our equipment? Let's test these things on law enforcement, FBI, stuff like that. And if they're in other countries, they're test on their law enforcement, stuff like that. See how good it is. I see drones without having rotors, propulsion. And it's just energy that was keeping those drones up. There's no visible propulsion. So this stuff is new. It's new in how people are seeing it. Some, like I said, have to have some of that extraterrestrial re-engineering. Some is not. You see normal UFOs out there as well. And then you have normal drones. You have police helicopters. You have airplanes. Everything in the sky out at once.
That respond to that incident, I've spoken to them. They weren't able to lock these up with their infrared systems either. So they do seem to be exhibiting some type of signature management.
That's interesting. So is the signature management so is it a heat signature that they're giving off? So maybe there's some sort of a cooling mechanism inside of these things? Like if they have a propulsion system, so you would imagine it's some sort of an electric engine, right? Because a lot of them are very quiet. that's got to be giving off some kind of heat, right?
Yeah, and that goes to some like very base physics, right? Like we create heat whenever we have stored energy and we utilize it. So to be able to mitigate that to such a degree that you can't even detect them at all, it's pretty tough. I mean, I can imagine you can reduce your signature. We do it in fighter jets, right? Through kind of just like baffles where we cover the engine essentially to make it harder to see. But to have zero ability to detect or lock onto these objects is not a technology I'm familiar with.
So, other than that, are they exhibiting any type of movement that's extraordinary, or their ability to turn angles? Is there anything about them that points to this being superior technology?
Yes.
It's tough to say. Based on what I've seen just in the public from reports and kind of amateur photographers and witnesses, some of them do seem to be making pretty sharp turns. I wouldn't call them like physics breaking turns, but they don't seem to be operating like a normal aircraft, right? So they're down low. They're making what appear to be pretty high G turns, maybe like 3, 4, 5 G turns at relatively low air speeds, which is indicative of them having a pretty significant power supply, right? Anytime you turn like that,
groundbreaking.
You're burning energy essentially. So for them to be able to make these high G maneuvers and then remain.
Well, as some said, some don't give off heat signature, and some just disappear. They just cloak in and out, and we have cloaking technology. It's one that we've been testing for a good long while. So,
remain in the area for another 5 or 6 or 7 hours and still have the battery life or whatever's propelling them, to then go over the ocean to a point where they're untrackable. Again, I'm not really familiar with that type of capability either.
Yeah, it's the thing that disturbs me is not just that this is happening. There's so many drones and all these people are seeing them. It's happening for so long and nothing has been done. There's no, they're not scrambling jets to try to meet these things and follow them and track them. They're not shooting them down. They're not. It's just we appear so vulnerable because of this.
That's where you get the idea that government is definitely behind us, that they're the ones that are doing it, especially when they say they're not a threat and stuff, and they have no malicious intent. So they know what's happening. Trump said himself that they know what is happening and stuff. They're obviously a part of it. So
because if these are ours, or if these are people just fucking around and it's not a threat, okay, great. But why is it so prevalent? Like, why are there so many of them, and why have there been nothing that these people that are trying to investigate this have been able to do that's effective to put a stop to this?
So there's some laws in this country that are a little bit antiquated when it comes to dealing with situations like this. So my understanding is right now these things are operating mostly in what's called Class G airspace, which is really low. It's away from airports. Not all, of course, right? They're over bases.
Right.
So
they're over LaGuardia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was different.
But here's I think where a lot of the trouble's coming in from. I think the government has to make the presumption at this point, based off the feedback from the DoD and others, that if this is not a foreign adversary, then we have to make the assumption that it's a U.S. citizen that's operating these. Because of that, they essentially need a warrant in order to wiretap these.
What?
Yeah.
Even with the Patriot Act?
That's the feedback I'm receiving. That's the legal limitation.
Come on. They don't even need a warrant to get into my phone.
No, they can still track these things. They don't need a warrant. They can still track these things. They can still track them through electronic devices. They can track them. There are ways of doing that. They don't need a warrant. They can track them. They can be there. They can just wait until they get a warrant. If they're over a base and stuff like that, over special security places, they can shoot them down. They can do that. I know that.
Fuck out of here. I don't buy that.
Well, whether it's the reality situation or not, that's how they're proceeding, right? And so to overcome that, there's like a 120-page report that needs to be filed all the way up to the deputy Attorney General of the United States in order to even intercept these signals that they may or may not even be emitting, to be able to determine where they're going. And so I think that's one part of what's like slowing down this whole investigation. On the other hand, for base commanders, they have limited authorities to protect their base, but when they do, they need to submit basically a request all the way up to the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
And so now you have this like super politically charged situation with a lot of risk of objects flying over the U.S. If they take action and shoot one of these down, even with the Secretary of Defense's permission, they're on the hook if that thing takes out a school bus or otherwise damages someone's property.
Or kills somebody.
Yeah.
Jamie, can you
It's over the base, though. Depends on where over base. I mean, like I said, they can shoot out. They have the authority. They can do that. They don't have to go all through those channels. Okay? You do, but the thing is, they could already have been given the authority to do that already, which they usually do. Say if this happened over the White House or other bases. Imagine this happening over Area 51. It's going to get blown up. Unless it's government. And this all points to the government. All this BS points to the government. All of it. The Director, Under Secretary of Defense, okay it, and stuff like that. Thing is that they already have that okay, or they don't. That says a lot too. If they don't have the okay, that says a lot.
Look, if that thing takes out a school bus or otherwise damages, submit basically a request all the way up to the Secretary of Defense.
Right.
All right, so now you have this like super politically charged.
But they already have permission. In a lot of these areas already have permission to do that. Unless it's over a certain area that could hurt their infrastructure or civilian. Obviously it's different. We're not talking about civilian areas, though. I'm talking about open area at a base. I'm not talking about shooting one of these craft that's right over a hangar or a housing complex that's housing a jet or other, munitions or whatever. Not talking about that. I'm talking about, and I think all of us are talking about with the same mind, if it's only over an open area, open field to shoot these things down. That's a lot different. Now, if it's over the White House, it ain't going to matter. If it's near there, they're just going to blow it anyway. At least you'd hope to.
Hard situation with a lot of risk of objects flying over the U.S. If they take action and shoot one of these down, even with the Secretary of Defense's permission, they're on the hook if that thing takes out a school bus or otherwise damages someone's property.
Or kills somebody.
Yeah.
Jamie, can you research, can you just do a quick search? Have there been drones that have been shot down?
I haven't seen anything. There's a story from
there happened something that crashed
2 days ago.
What happened to those investigations? Somebody has to be investigating those. I wish I had the guy's name. Because I did a live stream yesterday. It went to shit. The audio issues and the internet issues. But
New Jersey lawmakers were having a press conference asking if the government could shoot one down so they can inspect it. So, I'm assuming they haven't shot one down if they're asking to shoot one down that day,
Well, we saw that orb that obviously it took one down. So, and others have too. Others have crashed. But I'd like to see where investigation is with that. Nurse gets herself banned from hospital. Oh, dear Lord. Path of Exile 2? He plays Path of Exile 2? Surprised. China is 10 years ahead. Swarming drones. Oh, God. Let's see. I want to hear this guys with the CIA and stuff like that. Or it was. So much intelligence. I got to hear what he says. Microwaves. We have that technology too.
This is dangerous for the whole country. I mean, just think about this. If we have objects in the sky that are the size of an SUV over any city, over any state, it's an invasion of our airspace.
Probably a CGI.
Epirus is a directed energy, basically a directed EMP weapon, and it is, seems to me from the reading I've done on it, it's defense against drones.
Now to the alarming images tonight, the frightening moments on an American Airlines flight from LaGuardia Airport here in New York to Charlotte. Moments after takeoff, a bird strike leading to engine failure, the plane then relying on the other engine for an emergency landing at nearby JFK Airport.
Epirus is a really important company, and I'm proud to be a co-founder there with it. It's not just, I can't take credit for it by myself.
What is Palantir?
A scare in the air. Flight from LaGuardia Airport had to make a U-turn in the sky just after takeoff because of a bird strike.
I walked out because it was worthless. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers.
While the White House is downplaying the threat.
That's different. Those are re-engineered.
What the hell do you think these drones are?
You know, gonna be at the Army Navy game, so I'm bummed that I'm gonna find out tomorrow probably from all these guys, because I'm sure they know. I'm sure they know, but I haven't texted them and asked. I mean, if it's not ours, then it's really incompetent, right? If this is ours, then it's also kind of weird. Like, why are we doing this and freaking people out? But if it's not ours, what the heck, man?
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat.
This story today, so it has to be the government. Or one world government entity.
It was like 2 years ago we're freaking out about a spy balloon traversing the United States.
I got a good answer on that, though. I'm sure it's public by now. Because of the fact that we let it stay up, we were able to hack into it, trace back where the data was going, and like find out a lot about the Chinese.
It's about Chinese food now. What the hell do people have against Chinese food? What is up with this audio? Jesus Christ.
Drone warfare is becoming obviously very prevalent.
Absolutely critical. This is the future of warfare. Is like lots and lots of manufactured, smart, weaponized, autonomous drones. Whether they're flying, whether they're on the water, whether they're under the water, whether they're on the land. And that is the future of warfare.
I mean, we do have submersible drones that we're using right now, and I'm dead ass sure those we have secret stuff that could just rise up out of the water and go to these places in New Jersey, San Diego, LA, Plat 42, Edwards Air Force Base, Langley, all these other bases. I'm dead sure, I know, that we got stuff, secret stuff, that could do that. And they're not human, they're not manned either. These would be drones. We got stuff. You know, we got secret technologies that blow people's minds. And what we have with drones underwater that the military is just not secret, those look like UFOs in a way. And people can easily misidentify those things, those drones, as UFOs when they're not. And then you have to wonder what they're doing to sea life. Our stupid weapons for different countries is killing off a lot of sea life. That's
as far as I'm concerned.
How many drones could, like, one of these, what do you call the actual weapon? Is it Leonidas?
Leonidas.
Gallium nitride.
Gallium nitride is a GAN, they call them. GAN is the element, code. The gallium nitride, these are super efficient emitters, and these exist in other places too. It's a big breakthrough that was really started to be used in the last kind of like 10, 15 years in a bunch of different contexts. But it turns out if you use the AI chips, get the power to hit the gallium nitride, you're taking a bunch of power and you're kind of condensing it into like a 10,000th of a second. So super fast burst, and the burst is intense enough because it's so condensed that when it hits the a drone, when it hits the electronics, it fries them.
The recent sightings of unidentified drones in the state of New Jersey, my home state, is justifiably causing tremendous public
That's
concern.
the year it said these
Foreign
were
drone
wrong,
technology,
but-
particularly China, is a full decade, 10 years ahead.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit warmongering. We've had the technology before they had it. They're just copying off our stuff. You're an idiot. I know this myself. Because there's been these robotic dogs we've had that, that we also can use as weapons and stuff and put machine guns on them and stuff like that. Stupid news says that China developed them. No, DARPA did. DARPA has all these technologies, and these dumbasses are saying that it's the Chinese or Iran or Russia. They got from us. Okay, they got from us. Usually, always, with technologies, special technologies, they're getting it from us. That's fact. So,
Of where we are. That is unacceptable in America.
You're
I
unacceptable.
think the vibe shift that we've been talking about is like a lot of people are comfortable living with lives safely, and I think it's important that a lot of people come over to live with the truth, even if it's dangerous.
Well, let's be honest with the American people and treat them like adults and tell them what it is.
It's our government, or there's a foreign...
It's like the parent slapping a kid's hand. Don't do that. That's what happens when you ask the government to be real, to treat us like adults, to treat us as, well, just, on level. No. We're down here, they're up here. That's the way they want it. Sociopathic psychopaths, pretty much the government.
Nexus.
So as much as the military-industrial complex, like you talked about, is an issue, you have some stuff we need to know how to do to keep America safe and to be the best in the world. I'd gotten out of defense for a few years because after Palantir, it's hard. You have to go talk to senators, you have to go to the DOD. It's stressful stuff. I built companies elsewhere, like you mentioned.
I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones.
I had a bunch of people we work with in the violence.
It could
work
happen,
with you anymore if you're doing defense.
We
This is
got
so wrong.
technologies that
It's
can
just
stop
evil.
that.
Why would you do this?
If it was a foreign adversary, we could stop it immediately. And the government would say that's foreign. They would discount it. They would say that's not a national security threat. They would acknowledge that it could be foreign. They would say it could be, at least. They would say it could. They at least say that. They said it's not a threat to anybody. So,
it's just wrong to
Just
do. And a
feeling
lot
our
of fronts wouldn't
military.
even mean it. So it was like a thing you weren't supposed to do.
that's what we got. That's what we have. EMP. That's the UFO, but it could be one of our re-engineered stuff.
A lot of our smartest friends in China were being forced to have their engineers
I think it definitely
work
could.
on military projects.
It could be
And we said, wait a second, this
ETs
is
have
not
that
good.
stuff too. It's just, it's almost impossible to know what a UFO is. Is it extraterrestrial or is it government? It becomes almost impossible nowadays. Whereas before you knew what a UFO was because of how they could break all physics and stuff like that, And now we have our own stuff re-engineered, and other countries do as well. So with these drones, some is re-engineered or has spliced technology inserted into these drones. And so it's great.
Well, I mean, I think the fact that we let China and Russia become such close allies is ridiculous. I think that was a huge strategic mistake. And I think they're not necessarily natural allies. I think that was something where we drove them into each other. So that concerns me.
That will be interesting. I'd have to pay this guy to see it, probably. Eric Hager, Antarctica firefighter. This would be interesting to see. This is from a year ago, but false flag, alien invasion. Let's look. This shot, I got it.
So the treaty basically says you cannot put a weapon into orbit around Earth.
They do that anyway.
No.
They have that.
No, I haven't heard about this yet. I've seen triangle patterns. I've seen lights that jump from place to place.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've seen that too.
I've literally traveled, investigated, and seen these things, and
Yeah,
I
I've
have
seen it
no
too.
explanation for what they are.
We're going to cover the weaponization of space or weaponizing space and UFO, UAP, maybe some free energy stuff.
Yeah.
What do you want to kick it off with?
Dude, weaponizing space is a super interesting topic.
Let's
right?
go there.
Yeah, so a couple things. So just recently,
My
Russia
father-
announced that it's going to pull out of START treaty, right?
What is the START?
My father did some SDI stuff, and we had some SDI stuff before Reagan did that, but he really created the real industrial part of it, the military industrial part of it, and so we do have weapons in space. We do. We have lasers in space. We have SDI Star Wars stuff. We've had that up there for maybe a few decades or more. Depending on what it is. Maybe 20, 30 years. I don't know exactly, but we've had them up there for a long while, maybe longer. People on the inside have different, a lot of times, let's see.
START treaty.
The START treaty was a treaty that was put in place during the Obama years to basically limit and downsize the total number of nuclear weapons that existed between the United States and the Russian arsenals. So a downsizing and modernization and safety protocols, right, for our two different nuclear weapon arsenals. I mean, it was set to expire in 2025. Most people thought it was going to renew, but now Putin just announced he's not going to renew it, right? That came on the heels of Biden showing up in Kiev on President's Day, which in and of itself is kind of ridiculous. I don't know why the U.S. president would spend American President's Day in Kiev. It doesn't honor.
Well, thing is, like Putin said, we destroyed that agreement too. We have all these secret weapons. We have Star Wars weapons and stuff that is space, which wasn't Khrushchev, but wasn't Yeltsin. Who was the president at the time of Reagan? Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot his name. But he wouldn't sign one of our treaties. Start with an M. But he wouldn't sign a treaty with us because he and his intelligence divisions found out about our strategic defense initiative, Star Wars. And Reagan was pissed that, you know, he had to go all this way to another country with Gorbachev. And when nothing got signed, and it's really the Americans' fault with that, because we're weaponizing space, you know, before the 80s, having, you know, secret assets, but just having, I'd say, craft in space and being able to and shoot down nuclear weapons and stuff like that, that breaks all these treaties. And Putin saw that, but it was really Reagan that got this SDI thing and having, you know, lasers and stuff like that. But I've heard stuff, you know, about 10 years beforehand, stuff that we've had. So
our history of presidents.
Well, some people claim he's not all there. So,
but either way, so to counter that kind of snub in the face of Russia, Putin announced he's going to pull out of the START treaty. Now, nuclear weapons, there's a treaty in place. The non-weaponization of space is a treaty that's existed since the 70s. Nuclear weapons actually work the way they work specifically because they're supposed to fit within the guidelines of a treaty. So the treaty basically says you cannot put a weapon into orbit around Earth. Nuclear weapons follow that rule because they actually launch in a elliptical pattern to re-engage or re-enter Earth's atmosphere. So they leave from one part of Earth and they enter another part of Earth. They do not make a full rotation around the Earth, so they do not make an orbit. With the idea of weaponizing space, it becomes scary because now there are so many more people involved that were never part of that treaty. China's putting things in space. They were never part of the original treaty.
North Korea.
We've got commercial entities putting things in space, right? You've got friggin' Elon Musk is launching Teslas into orbit. So there's all this stuff now going into space that was never part of the original treaty not to weaponize space. Right. And all you would basically have to do is essentially put something into space that's carrying a laser, carrying even a dumb bomb, a dumb explosive, right? All you need is gravity. You can just drop something out of a vehicle in space, and as long as it can withstand re-entry into the atmosphere, essentially you have a space-based weapons platform. So it is scary to think about the future. Modern-day weapons, smart weapons, energy-directed weapons, or directed energy weapons, laser weapons, being based in orbit around the Earth.
How many countries do you know of that are putting weapons into space?
I don't know of anyone currently putting weapons into space, but the countries that we know have the infrastructure to put satellites and to put large vehicles into space, I mean, that's got to be pushing up towards 25 or 30 countries. I mean, just some of the ones that jump to mind that I'm not comfortable with putting items into space. Pakistan can launch into space. India can launch into space. Turkey can launch into space.
Iran
can probably launch into space.
Yep.
I mean, if they can't do it themselves, they'd be able to get the know-how from the Russians or the Chinese to be able to do it, right? North Korea might be able to launch into space. They have missile platforms that carry nuclear weapons. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of very intense applied mathematics that goes into getting something into orbit and making it stay there. But I mean, these are all countries that have a grudge with someone else that they might consider putting a weapon into space. At least the United States and like Russia, for example, like we have this contentious relationship. Remember, in World War II, we were allies, and then there was the Cold War, and then coming out of the Cold War and in the early 90s, we kind of became friendly again, and then that has slowly kind of dissolved into what it is now. Obviously, exacerbated significantly in the last year. But there's a weird relationship where both of us are really fairly responsible nuclear partners, at least until we see otherwise.
What do you think about all this UAP, UFO stuff? It's being brought up more and more and more, and there's all these conspiracies around it. Everything from, well, have you heard about the false flag alien invasion?
No.
You haven't?
No, I haven't heard about this yet.
Well, some people think that the globalization is going to occur after a false flag alien invasion, and that's why all these UAP and UFOs are coming up in the media, because they're gonna falsify something that's going to create enough fear to where we all listen to the one world government.
A false flag alien invasion, meaning some deep shadow government is making us think there's UFOs?
Yes.
Wow. That's convoluted.
Yeah. But
this was 1 year ago. This was made. And here we are today. This is 1 year ago.
Why do you think this is all of a sudden just hitting the mainstream?
So
more and more and more.
Yeah. So that I think is an excellent question. UFOs have been something people have been interested in a long time, right? As long as we can remember seeing things in the sky that we can't immediately identify, that was the birth of the UFO. UFOs and aliens, I think if you take a look closely, they're two different things. UFOs are just what's in the sky. Aliens are life outside of our planet.
Yes.
It's a nuanced difference, but it's still a difference.
There's a big difference.
The reason people are obsessed with UFOs is because people don't like, cognitively, human beings don't like an open loop in their reasoning process. You don't like it, I don't like it. It's the reason that television series always end on a cliffhanger. It's the reason that books end on cliffhangers. It's the reason that you read emails from email marketers and they always tell you what they're going to tell you on the next email, right? The human brain doesn't like an open loop. We like a closed loop. We like closure. So when there's an open loop, we get fixated on it. So the idea of this mystery of what's in the sky, we get naturally fixated on what could that be? Whether we want to or not, we start theorizing. Could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be this? We're trying to close the loop cognitively. That's what drives us compulsively with UFOs. What drives us compulsively with aliens is actually a question of how human beings, how we relate to mortality. You're going to die someday. I'm going to die someday. Right now in our 40s, where it's more real to us than it was in our 20s, when we probably both thought we were impervious. But imagine how we're going to feel when we're 60. Imagine how we're going to feel when we're 80, right? The closer you get to death, the more intense your questions start to become about, is there life after death? Is there more after death?
Yes,
Am I
there is
really
life
just
after death.
a pile of a functioning biological system, and then I'm going to die, my system's going to stop working, and I'm just going to be dust? Is that really all there is to it? Or is there more? And that question of is there more is what really drives our fixation with alien life. Because what if there is life outside of Earth? What if when we die, our spirits go somewhere outside of Earth? What if there's some technology out there that these advanced creatures may have that could help me prolong my life, right? What if there's some great mystery that I haven't discovered in my 65 years of existence because I'm bored with everything of life, and now the only thing that's new and unknown to me is this idea of alien life. So the question of aliens is really intricately connected with the human existence, with our mortality, right? So you can see that you can separate these two things. One is a question of mortality, one is an open loop of the mysteries of what's going on in the sky. Now, the CIA, the DIA, NSA had been actively running intelligence operations against Russia, for crying out loud, to try to collect information about UFOs and UAPs. Now, all of a sudden, what that did is it lended government credibility to these.
Well, they have files. after the downfall of the Soviet Union, if you guys did research, you would know that they have files. There might be still a way. I know people have had them where these are former KGB files of UFOs and crashes that have happened and encounters with UFOs, ETs, and how some became combative and attacked by ETs, stuff like that. These guys are dark. Oh no, he's in the dark. Oh no, this is a year ago. So
2 open loops that we've been suffering from for so long, which now made it so that maybe in secret you thought they were aliens, but you never talked about it with your friends, or maybe in secret you thought they were UFOs, but you never mentioned it to your wife. Now all of a sudden the government's talking about it. So now everybody can talk about it, which opens up the conversation to everybody who has an opinion, right? And there is real evidence out there that speaks to unidentified aerial phenomenon and that speaks to things in the sky that nobody can describe. And then you've got the footage from the 2007, the Nimitz and the F-18s that were tracking multiple aerial vehicles that they couldn't describe and they couldn't define. Like there's a lot of moving parts here that have now made it so that these 2 natural questions that all human beings have now become so mainstream.
Yes,
we can talk and speculate all we want openly now without having to worry about anybody calling us crazy.
Do you have any theories on what these are?
So I do actually. I was mentioning to you.
I know stuff. Anyways, I already know what they're. Jesus Christ. Anyways, let's get back to. See what's in the drone news here. Now, if I click on one of these things here, it says 36 minutes ago. Is this going to be 2 days ago instead? Because I've had this clickbait before. They're 4 days old.
8:32 right now, and all morning we've been talking about the drones, right? This
5
is
days
a
ago.
Huge talker of a story.
What the
Hundreds
fuck?
of sightings across New York and New Jersey. Even a
Shit,
congressional
dude, get your crap together. 36 minutes ago. That says 5.
hearing about what is going on.
So yesterday, lawmakers.
Your history. Crap. What a joke. Get your shit together. This was yesterday. It was more than 12 hours ago. But this, I mean, it needs to be said so many times.
Doug Luzader has more from Capitol Hill this morning, where White House officials plan to brief lawmakers. Doug, good morning.
Good morning. There's going to be a briefing here today for members of the House.
There's one here and there's one there.
Yes.
There.
They are there, but what are they? The enduring mystery continues in the skies above New Jersey and a number of other states now around the country.
We don't see anything that indicates a national security or a public safety threat.
The White House position on this hasn't changed in one regard. These flying objects, they say, are not threatening, but they do acknowledge government officials know more than they're letting on.
For some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense.
And beyond the suspense, the question remains what, if anything, to do about it.
It's exposed a big vulnerability for us, because if these drones were in Iraq, we could take them down. But if you try to use that technology in the U.S., you could take down a commercial airliner. So we have a vulnerability here in this country that we can't use our counter-drone technology that our enemies are watching.
And because of the drone sightings near his New Jersey golf club, Trump said he might cancel an upcoming trip there. So We still don't know what this is all about. Back to you guys.
He almost spoke with like some certainty that he knows that something else is going on, as if he's receiving briefings. We could surmise that
Yeah, we do. I mean, a lot of us do know this is a scam and everything else. Anyways, that's gonna be it. Enough drone stuff. Let me see. Well, let me see what's going on here. There I am. There. But I think that is Chinese spy drones, New Jersey. Yeah, everybody has that. Everybody. Right. It's not. It's not. It's all warmongering and stuff like that. Elon Musk playing Path of Exile 2. That Ozzy probably had. Never mind. I can say. But yeah, I mean, you can say Chinese, all this stuff, and it's our government, world government. With this happening around the globe, I think it's actually a world government thing. That's what I think. Sounds crazy, but this is crazy. This whole thing is crazy, and a scam as well. So, anyways.
Government shut.
Yes. Wisconsin. Dark Pyramid. Yeah, I've heard that. Dark Pyramid. A lot of stuff these people talk about I already knew about before they did. I mean, I knew this stuff about over 20 years ago. So it's crazy. They're making money off this. I already knew about it. Kind of pisses me off in a way. But anyways. Anunnaki, there's a lot of stuff for people to learn about or think, what if this stuff is real, open your minds, open that box. Open a box of chocolates. Never know what you're gonna get. Oh, here's one right here, everybody. Ah! Damn, Hello, Cootie Pie. Please don't eat me. I'll be nice, just don't eat me. That looks like that guy. The guy that had bears. God, what a cootie! But those things will eat you, man. That is crazy. What is this? EMP attack, electromagnetic pulse. There's Lou Elizondo. Pentagon's UFO investigator breaks 2-year silence. He wasn't really silent. But anyways. Another reason to leave California.
Come see us doing live shows. We'll be in Los Angeles, Honolulu, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes.
I like to go to Honolulu. So, U.S. nuke alert. Yeah. Listen, this stuff about nukes and everything.
Just come out and tell the truth.
It's not nukes! They're not nukes. They're radioactive little packages, and these things are being overblown. Could I be wrong? There's always a chance I could be. If I'm wrong, like I said, I'd have to eat shit for this guy. But no, jeez. It's not. These are stuff of X-ray machines. It pisses me off when politicians and these other deadheads are trying to spin it and say it's something that's not. You know? It's like, we all got theories and stuff like that. But it's like, let's just say what it is. This is a multi-government scam. Governments around the world are scamming the people with this stuff. This drone stuff. And then you have to ask other questions, have other theories. Gotta have, that brings up whole other balls of wax about what it could be and stuff, I mean, there's just, oh my God. China #1. Chinese food #1.
Tension builds on the open sea. America's most powerful warships find themselves under constant surveillance by Chinese vessels. This sensitive encounter is more than just ships passing in the night. It's a complex ordeal of military might, cutting-edge technology, and international law. What really happens during these tense standoffs? What happens when a Chinese spy ship follows a U.S. Navy carrier group? When an unknown vessel appears on the radar of a U.S. aircraft carrier, it sets off a chain of well-rehearsed actions. The bridge crew's first priority is to establish the identity and the intentions of the approaching ship.
That's a good start.
Using sophisticated radar systems and high-powered optics, they gather initial data on the vessel's size, speed, and heading. The carrier's advanced radar systems, such as the ANSPY-1 phased array radar, can detect and track multiple surface contacts at ranges exceeding 100 nautical miles.
Yes.
This gives the crew ample time to assess the situation.
Military special.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Aykroyd's crazy into UFOs. He's like one of the main celebrities they pull up when people start talking about like UFO real believers. He's done like little clips where he narrates things, UFO shows and shit. He fucking believes.
Well, didn't they just release that there's even more belief now about UFOs?
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know if it's real, but it's fun. That's how I feel.
This is why
Special Forces.
He calls some of us a clown or crazy people. I mean, this is 5 years ago, but he's called us crazy people. I think he's a clown in a lot of ways. Because he's used money. Yeah, Joe Rogan has used money to get what he's learned. People like me have real UFO paranormal experiences our whole life. He doesn't have any of that whatsoever. He does. So I think of him as the clown and these other people that, think that we could be crazy, and all these fighter pilots that don't know what I know or other people on the inside. And he goes, well, I want to know what this fighter pilot knows, this or that. It's like, I don't give a fuck. It's like, I have my experiences. I know what I do, what I know, I should say. People on the inside that I know, giving me information that I've talked to. And, I didn't have money. I didn't have celebrity. He does. And I consider them clowns in a lot of ways because they don't have any of the experiences that we've had. And Chinese. Let's see. There's Tano Chinese. Let's see, there's gotta be everything. I know there's a lot of stuff out there. And That was 5 days old. Said 5 days old. YouTube, get your shit together.
Volume of drone flights we see on a given day.
First, let's look at a really alarming hazardous drone operation in Boston. Drones flying near airports can shut down the whole operation. That's if they
Audio,
Boston.
testing,
Drones
audio,
flying near
I need
airports
audio.
can shut down the whole operation. That's if they see the drones before a plane actually hits it. This could potentially lead to crashed airplanes, lost human lives, disaster. This happens because, well, some people are assholes.
Yes,
And some
they are.
have
Thank
cars,
you.
guns,
Thank you.
cameras.
Thank you very much for this public service announcement. Some people are assholes. The voice of reason for America. Thank God we live in America. Land is free. Only America can say this.
And yeah, some have drones. And
Some
they are
assholes
dangerous
have
and they are
drones.
breaking the law. But most people with drones are not doing that. Most people with drones are people like myself. We have everything registered, we're certified, and we're just getting beautiful shots. Or we're doing real estate photography. So please don't think that every drone you see is necessarily dangerous. We're probably just doing work or having fun. But people around the country, especially New Jersey, but often in my own neighborhood in this past week, are seeing scary things. And they're getting it on video and they're sharing it. Here's a video from Jared Christopher.
My camera all the way up to the drone. This is what I get. It has a round, like, shield around it. F***ing nuts.
He's right.
Fucking nuts.
I have force field drones in my own house.
Yes.
Even. Check out this footage I just made. Whoa, cut. Yeah, that's not a drone.
This is why, like, we're finally getting answers. We're finally getting answers. My God, forget my dumb ass. My God, we found a leader here. This plaque says it all. This plaque. Get the screen back on? Why do you have to jump the screen? Can't you see what I'm...
With a force field, that's a point of light that's out of
It's
focus.
not funny.
It's called a bokeh ball. You see this in every city night scene in a movie. The out of focus lights become big and round or oddly shaped, and sometimes they move around or even blink. If you see a light in any video and it's big and round like that, the camera's out of focus and you should dismiss it because we don't study out of focus videos.
That's
Get it in
right.
focus, and then we can take a little look at it. Let's look at another video. Okay, that's the flying Kirby. Clearly, what is it doing in the air? That is crazy. That shot's clearly out of focus, but maybe we can tell a little bit about it by studying the lights. Now, the person who took that was in an airplane that was landing.
He's so fucking awesome.
So presumably they were near an airport. The front of that object has bright white continuous lights. You know what? The FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, has some rules about this. An airplane that's flying under 10,000 feet, generally taking off or landing, puts on landing lights so that the airplane is more visible to the towers.
Yes,
so those could be landing lights to improve the visibility at night and make it a little less likely that two airplanes crash into each other. They also have beacon lights, which are flashing red lights. The FAA
that's an
also
airplane.
requires
Can't see
airplanes to have strobe lights, which are white lights on the wingtip.
We're getting educated here, everybody. We're gonna solve this together. Together. We're gonna solve this shit.
That tend to blink, hence the name
Tonight.
strobe. And there are navigation lights. A red light on the left wing, a green light on the right wing. You can remember green has 5 letters, right has 5 letters. And then a white light at the rear of the airplane. These
Seriously, I didn't go back. Seriously. When I did, also in ground school, and when I did aviation class and stuff, and my father taught me when I was a kid, red light, green light, pilot, co-pilot seat. And it's where they have the different colored lights and stuff like that. So it's standard federal rules. You have to have them. You know, if you don't, you're not supposed to fly.
Lights allow you to tell the orientation and blink, hence the name strobe, and there are navigation lights. A red light on the left wing, a green light on the right wing.
Yeah.
You can remember green has 5 letters, right has 5 letters. And then a white light at the rear of the airplane. These 3 lights allow you to tell the orientation and direction an airplane is facing. So if you see some blobby thing and it has red and green and white lights, you can pretty much tell what direction that is going, but you can also tell that that weird flying object, whatever it is following FAA guidelines, and thus maybe isn't so scary or mysterious. Sometimes airplanes can have extra lights, and if it is actually a consumer drone like one of these, the lights could be different. People actually strap all sorts of weird lights to their drones to help with navigation at night, so they might not comply with that. But let's take another look at this video and think about some things. First of all, if you've ever been in an airplane, you know the windows are super thick, sort of terrible optical quality plastic, and they're 2 layers deep. So everything through the window looks pretty bad. It's also out of focus. But what's more, this person filming this is on an airplane. But they're also taking off or landing because we know that they're close to the ground. And that means that there's air traffic control pretty close to them, and they monitor the skies really, really closely. And none of these professionals freaked out, but the person on the plane did freak out and had to share it. But I want to point out, while that footage is clearly out of focus, trying to build a PC 1234 did not see it out of focus. They saw it clearly, and what they saw was an airplane with FAA compliant lights, not a weird blob drone that they couldn't explain. So I'm calling you out trying to build a PC 1234. You're a poster. You took a blurry video of an airplane and then tried to build a conspiracy around it. Let's take a look at another video from Brightside 2333. Okay, once again, if you look at this video, we see characteristic red and green lights. We see it is out of focus. The camera can't get it in focus, and that's why everything is bokeh balls. Now, that could be literally anything, but it's probably an airplane because it seems to have FAA compliant lights on it. A lot of people are saying they're seeing...
Everybody write it down, bokeh balls. Bokeh balls.
Truck-sized drones, and that would be super disturbing, right? A big drone could potentially be dangerous, but how do they know it's as big as a truck? Because we use our depth perception to tell how far away something is, and then once we know how far away it is, we can sort of estimate its size, right? But depth perception with our 2 eyes is only useful to about 10 feet. Further than that, the way you tell depth is by kind of knowing how big things are. So if you see a truck that looks this small in your vision, you know it's far away. And if you see a truck that's this big in your vision, you know it's closer, even if you don't have depth perception from the stereo effect of your eyes. When something's in the night sky, you don't have anything relative to compare it to, and thus you don't have any way to tell how big it is. And if you think you're good at estimating how high an airplane is, do this. Install Flight Radar 24. And then when you see a plane flying overhead, pull it up and click on the little airplane. It will tell you what type of airplane it is, how high it is, and how fast it's going. Everyone I've ever tried this with is absolutely terrible at guessing how high the airplane is, including me, a drone pilot for 30 years. I see an airplane and I guess it's 1,500 feet, it'll be 3,500 feet, or vice versa, because our depth perception is not that effective when we're staring up at a sky, especially a night sky. And thus, you don't have any way to tell how big a drone actually is because you can't tell how far away it is. Also, why would you label a blob a drone? The difference between a drone and...
This is why you do ask pilots about this, where I have to defend Joe Rogan. So what I'm talking about is UFO stuff. Why sometimes it's stupid to ask pilots because they don't know, but yet they're educated to know a UAV from a UFO, unmanned aerial vehicle or drone from a UFO, you know, by having those FAA lights, you know, red, green, white, stuff like that. And they're taught that you go ground school and everything, you get taught that as well. You go and do aviation class like I did, you get taught more with that as well. So
the helicopter or an airplane is whether there's a pilot in it, right? So it's all blurry. How are you going to know whether there's a pilot in there? You have no idea. If you do see something flying that looks really weird, do this. Install FlightAware or Flight Radar 24 and look it up. Now, it's not going to identify everything, but you will see major airlines, lots of private flights in there. So it might let you know that it's...
This is Tony and Chelsea Northrup. Give him a like. Watch the video.
It's not something weird or crazy. Military planes, helicopters are often not in there. We have a Coast Guard station right here, and I see the helicopters all the time,
So you got
and they
protection.
don't show up in FlightAware. So it not being in there doesn't mean it's something nefarious. But if it is in there, you can quickly legitimize it and maybe not freak out everybody on the internet with your blurry video. Now, modern drones do have remote ID installed, and that means that they can be tracked, but only by law enforcement. For whatever reason, we've decided to make airplanes publicly trackable and drones not publicly trackable. And
well, that's also because they're too tiny to be tracked on radar. At least they were. There's a certain size where they're not going to be able to be tracked by radar. They're too small. They have to be a certain size, like a Cessna, stuff like that, or if it's a drone or whatever, to be seen on radar for it to be visible. Otherwise, it's too small. So I don't know how it is now, but radar changed.
a lot of people are asking for drones to be tracked. They want to know what every single thing flying in the air is. But why stop there? Why not track cars? After all, cars hurt way more people.
Oh, fuck
than
yourself.
Drones
No.
do. Cars hurt people literally every day.
They do. Some cars have tracking technology in them. Some do.
But we don't track cars because, well, we don't want our privacy invaded. We have to balance all this tracking with privacy concerns. And there's not one right answer. So in the comments, tell me what you think. Should the public be able to look at a drone and see what it's doing and who owns it? Or is that left to the privacy of the drone operator? Or should we keep it as it is now, where the FAA and the police have access to that? I also have to ask, why...
For me, I think we should have it the way it is now. I mean, this is just so much of a scam, the way that is now. It's just BS, and they're creating all this fear and stuff like that. And they're just... They force this on us, where they want new laws and stuff like that, and it wasn't really needed. So
are all these videos at night? I think the answer is pretty easy. If it were during the day, you'd actually be able to see what it was. You would just see, oh, that's just an airplane, that's just a helicopter, that's just a drone. I don't need to freak out. But at night, these things look mysterious. You can't tell how big it is. But whether it's a mysterious drone or an airplane or a helicopter, we do have to ask ourselves, are these things dangerous? After all, it is pretty crazy that there's just stuff flying overhead all the time. It could do anything. It could spy on us. It could be carrying weapons. It could crash into us. Why don't we apply some basic logic to this? If they're flying at night, maybe they don't want to be detected. But if they don't want to be detected, why do they have lights all over them? Especially FAA compliant blinking directional lights. If it were a spy craft, it wouldn't have lights. In fact, there are lots of military drones doing scary things. And when they're in enemy territory, they don't have lights because they don't want to be seen. If they have lights, it means they want to be seen, which means they're probably not doing anything nefarious. The lights are there for legal reasons and for safety reasons. If the drones are trying to spy on you, why are they the size of trucks? Drones don't have to be big to spy on you. I have a drone with a 5x telephoto zoom.
You would spy on me, wouldn't you? You naughty little boy. She ashamed of yourself. Trust me, never mind. I've been stalked by ladies. I've had plenty of ladies stalk me. You know, they've deleted their accounts, made new ones. They go on a dating site or whatever that I've been on or something like that, or other places, or they find where I am. Some have stalked me and stuff like that. And, you know, I go on, get on camera, I go on, and it just doesn't have anything. Alright, move on.
And is actually really good at spying on people. I wouldn't do that but it could definitely do that. And it is the size of this drone. Small drones are much better for spying on you than big drones. Also, spying on people is a lot easier in the daylight. If you're at a military installation or a nuclear power facility and you wanted to see where the entrances were, or if it had some Death Star like tube that you could just send a rocket down and blow the whole thing up,
I want
if
to
you
see
wanted
everything.
to find that, you would do it during the
Within
daylight
reason.
because sunlight makes spying on things much easier. Also, if the spies are trying to gain intel about a military facility or a nuclear power plant, well, guess what? People don't keep secrets outside where a drone could see them. People keep secrets inside. It's not like they lay out the blueprints for the next stealth fighter on the grounds outside so a drone could photograph it. Now, to me, it makes no difference whether there's a pilot in there. Thus, it makes no difference whether they're a drone or a helicopter or an airplane, because either way, it could be safe or it could be nefarious. So, but how do we know these aren't like dangerous drones disguised as airplanes? Well, we don't. We don't know anything. We don't know if we're living in a simulation or not. But there's no particular reason to think that these things are dangerous. And usually the simplest explanation is the right one. That's Occam's razor. And it is not foolproof. Sometimes the much more complex explanation ends up being the right one. But unless there's some powerful evidence that makes me think that these things are actually causing trouble, then I'm going to have to go with this. And you know what? So far, all these sightings, no actual problems have cropped up. There haven't been any attacks or explosions. But yes, as we establish, drones...
I don't care what he says. We don't know if there's children in the corn or not. We don't know if there's children that's guiding these things. Children in the corn that could be evil, thinking evil, sadistic thoughts, that could come over to our homes and do bad things. We don't know this, but
can be used for dangerous things. Just look at Ukraine. Consumer drones can be scary and can really, really hurt people. So why can't the government look at your video and tell what it is? Well, you know what? Often people do specifically identify the flight that somebody was filming, because often if you shoot it with your phone, it's GPS tagged and timestamped. And you can just go back in the FlightAware app and figure out what plane was flying over your house at that particular time and that particular location. But they can't ID everything. Well, a lot of drones have remote ID installed. A lot don't. You can just buy parts and custom build a drone that is completely untrackable. So no, the government can't ID everything, and the fact that they're not IDing everything doesn't mean it's some conspiracy to cover it up. It just means they don't have that capability. Just like if you build your own go-kart and somebody sees it in the street, the government can't necessarily track it down. But why now? Why is
I still have me a built go-kart right now because I can't drive or anything. So I have a go-kart, and I use that to get around sometimes, and stuff. I also try to evade the cops when I can.
Everybody's suddenly seeing drones now? Well, there's something called the recency.
God, I sell it too.
It's like if you just bought a Honda Odyssey, suddenly you start to see Honda Odysseys everywhere. If somebody brings something novel up to you, you are much more likely to spot it. And everybody's been talking about these drones. And now when we see a plane flying through the air, we're like, whoa, what is that? Is that a drone? What is that sound that I hear? And yeah, even my friends and neighbors in this area have brought this up to me over and over and over again. Why didn't I hear this before? It was there before. I know, because I've been flying drones around this neighborhood for years, and nobody's really mentioned everything. But I wouldn't even try to fly it now unless I absolutely had to, because now everybody's freaking out about drones that have been there the whole time. And the thing is, people have been flying drones dangerously and illegally for a long time, and nobody has really noticed. Yeah, people fly them over 400 feet, the required amount. People fly them way out of sight. They go miles out of sight sometimes. They fly in no-fly zones. This has been happening since the first drones for decades. But nobody really noticed it. And now, suddenly, they are being scrutinized. And in the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 friends in my neighborhood, FAA-certified pilots, all of them, that were contacted by the FAA about their flights. So if you are a drone pilot, you better get it buttoned down. You better be flying legally. And even if you are flying legally, you better be prepared to answer the the police if they come rolling up, because people are being told to call the police anytime they see a drone, even though the vast majority of drone flights are legitimate.
This is important because this states civilian drones, they can track you. These drones that are being used right now can't be tracked. And yet they're making all these laws that are going to hurt us, the civilians, that are using drones. Not the government or governments that are doing this. No, it's going to hurt us, the common people. That's how stupid that the government is.
And legal. If you can't tell, I think this is a conspiracy, and it's mostly mass hysteria. I think that some conspiracies are real. And in fact, before drone stuff had taken over all the headlines, we were talking about a real conspiracy, which is the fact that healthcare companies choose who live and die based on spreadsheets. And now suddenly people are taking pictures of planes at night and talking about that instead of that real conspiracy. In the comments, let me know what you think about all of this. Are these things real? Is there something more that explains it? Do we need more government control? Do we need to scramble the F-16s and start shooting these floating blobs down? And don't forget to check out our sponsor, Squarespace, when you need a real presence on the web. Start at squarespace.com/Tony. You can set up a beautiful website with a completely free trial. No obligation required. Choose from many different templates. Set up something for your business, your personal project, your portfolio, your video reel, whatever you can imagine. Start at squarespace.com/Tony. After your free trial, if you want to keep it running, use the coupon code Tony for 10% off. Thanks for sponsoring us, Squarespace.
Thank you, Tony.
Bye. Breaking news, special report. Drones are everywhere.
Yes,
they're over your homes. They're at the airports. They're over military installations. They're even flying over my local nuclear facility just a couple miles from my house. People are saying they could be planning the next Pearl Harbor right here on American soil. I have been a drone pilot before quadcopters even existed, and I made them.
Let's one thing at a time. You're shoving this down my throat. Okay? Shove this down my throat. Hold on a sec. Jesus. Hold it.
All right, this you have to see. I can't even believe I am playing this for you. I have another one of these videos, this one from ABC7, of a suspicious object in the sky. Folks, this is Venus. Something has to be done about this.
That can't
the drones,
be the orb,
the UAVs,
like
the UAPs, the UFOs. This is dangerous. We're being surveilled.
Yeah,
I'm going to play a minute of video here of ABC7 anchors talking about, listen, folks, this is what we're talking about. We don't know what this is. It looks very weird. This is Venus, the planet.
Sure? That's
what is happening to us as a society?
You know, when things like this are happening, it seems everyone starts to look up, like my crew and I have been here in Mendham recording this video that you're looking at right now. We have no idea what it is, if it's a natural phenomenon, because it could be, but this is why so many municipalities are now asking people to reach out and send their videos to them or to
This is Venus.
Experts who might be able to sort out what they're seeing in the skies, but I guarantee they're...
Don't do that too, literally. You don't want a sexual harassment suit. That's legal for you. Of course, this goes back to the 80s when a telephone company would say reach out and touch someone. For some of those that were born way after that don't know. But moving on.
There are so many people looking up and making those recordings because this mystery is one that needs to be solved. For now, we're live here in Mendham Borough. Tony Yates, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Lee's saying he's wondering whether or not that might be the moon, Tony, but you pointed out it's exactly the question people are asking. What is it?
No. Yeah, no, we're looking at the moon right now, and that's nowhere near the moon.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Was it
I
or
mean,
not?
what do we say? What do we say about this? Now, for those of you who have been writing in and saying, David, there is a real issue here with something that's up in the sky.
There is.
If that is the case, you're undercutting wanting to be taken seriously when you go, what about this thing? And it's Venus. Now, I want to remind you,
you're ripping off Pac-Man. Never mind what I rip off. You're ripping off Pac-Man. I'm appalled that you can... Where is Pac-Man?
We did these yesterday.
Yeah.
Here is a video taken by Governor Larry Hogan, also of suspicious objects in the sky. It's Orion's belt. These are stars.
Stars.
And you can see the video panning around. Oh, what is this?
Do people not really know the difference between stars and planets between drones? Is it possible? I mean, I think people gotta be really stupid not to know the difference, but I guess... I mean, people that I know pretty much are gonna know that. Which... doesn't say much. Alright, no offense, doesn't say much about. But they know stars from drones. They're not that stupid. Yeah, there's Orion's belt out there and stuff, and you know, there's what is there stars? Little Dipper, Big Dipper, there Dipper, there Dipper. You know, McDonald had a Dipper, E-I-E-I-O.
Suspicious little dot. What is that suspicious little dot? And you can really see in this video at the 39-second mark that Orion's belt and the Orion Nebula, one of the most recognizable elements in the sky, goes by. These are just stars. They're not suspicious drones. And then, of course, here was the video I played for you yesterday with Josh Welkos talking about also suspicious stationary elements in the sky near Washington.
I'm telling you that they're not moving. They're staying stationary. They're hovering.
And of course, these are not hovering. These are airplanes on final approach to Reagan Airport in Washington, D.C. An approach that I will be doing in just a few hours. That's all.
Yeah, we could get wrong. I could have been wrong with that to say that those were UFOs, because the thing is, I not seen it up close. I could be dead ass wrong. Airplanes have these huge lights, you know, runway lights, and they have to have them there because they're out in the air. They see, you know, X amount of miles ahead of them for other air traffic, stuff like that. Make sure it doesn't cross their path, so they have a good line of sight. Whereas cars and stuff like that, you know, there's only X amount of visibility we need. Planes need that about 20 times or way more than that to see. I forgot how long it goes, how many miles it goes out, but yeah, if those are landing lights, stuff like that, then people can easily get that mixed up with UFOs. And now, if I'm out there and I see it, I'm going to know the difference because I've been around aircraft, planes, stuff like that. Now, it can still, people can still make accidents. Even pilots I know have made accidents. People in the military have made accidents in identifying stuff. So, looking at these videos, we can all get it wrong. I need to educate myself more. Just going by what it looks like. Doing crafty speculation, stuff like that. Everyone's doing that.
That's all that this is. Nothing suspicious. just airplanes coming in for
Looks like a
landing,
helicopter.
some further away, some closer. So
Looks
what
like a
is this
police
really
helicopter.
about? Is this really about the sudden belief
wrong.
that there are now foreign to the U.S. or even alien to the planet drones surveilling us?
Forward
Is
to
that really
Pac-Man.
what this is about? Or is this just another one of these distractions? As I've said before, it seems logical to believe that if spacefaring civilizations, clearly so much more advanced than we are, were coming here to visit from so far away that we can't even detect them, wouldn't they have better technology than the things that we supposedly see and some ascribe to outer space aliens or whatever the case may be? And if indeed these were spy elements from foreign countries, wouldn't it be to our advantage to say that that's what they are? Because it would simply unite the country against that and against this violation of our airspace and blah, 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 blah. None of it even passes the sniff test. Now, as I've said before, sometimes things that are seen, I think it was in the 50s, there were these weather balloon tests. And all of a sudden you had all of these reports of UFOs and it was briefly believed to be alien. And then we figured out an explanation. It was something that was being tested. We ultimately got an explanation. If that's what it is, then sure, I would love to know. But so far, the videos people have been sending me, I asked for videos yesterday. It's either stuff that has ended up being airplanes, it's stars, it's planets. That's what we're seeing right now. And I know that this angers some of the people in my audience, but I am simply...
But truth is truth. I think, listen, the thing is, a lot of the people that aren't intelligent, that don't know the difference, even people on the street, they would know stars from a drone, a planet, usually from a drone, and stuff like that. I don't know. It's hard for me to believe. I know people can be stupid. I say that all the time. That people could be idiots. I say that myself. But it's, oh man, that people could get that wrong. And that people can actually videotape plans for videos. And let me tell you, I actually have gotten Venus wrong with the UFO before. Until it just stood there. Until it's just there. A lot of people from the military and pilots have gotten Venus wrong or Mars wrong with the UFO. So I should, it's usually we know the difference. Usually we do. But I think people need to know more about astronomy. I think we need to educate ourselves with astronomy and know, where the planets are throughout times of the year, constellations, so we can eliminate. It's a process of elimination. And where I am right now, there's drones all over the sky. We're being surveilled by stupid government, stuff like that. And so, I'm not going to get my camera out. I'm not going to get my phone out. I should say my phone out. And record stuff that I know is a drone. Police helicopters, because there's plenty police helicopters around here. There's plenty of airplanes. So I guess some of us here and some other places where there's air traffic. Usually we're to know the difference between like a UFO and a drone, a UAV, military, commercial aircraft versus a drone, UFO, stuff like that, I think people need to be educated over that. I think it's important. But
not seeing what a lot... It's disproportionately right-wingers, and I can't say I understand why.
Right-wingers? This guy
I
is
am just
that
not seeing it
politically-
the way that that people are writing to me about. All right, so...
both sides are doing it. You stupid moron. Don't bring politics into it. Look at your stupid face that you're making. The stupid face that you're making. That fish face a bit. You idiots are brainwashed by politicians and weaponized and use this weapon. You're nothing but a tool. That's all you are, is a tool. No matter what political side you're on, that's all you guys are. Stop this BS. I'm taking that like away from you, dude. I'm taking that like away from you. Oh my god. You're so close. You're so fucking close. And you had to ruin it by bringing politics into it. Look for nose hairs and that schnoz. I should be looking at my nose if I have your nose. Yeah, there that is again. That's what we've already gone over. That New Jersey mayor links Joe says it's just all BS unless there needs to be proof with that. Because with everything that I've been over in this stream, yeah, radioactive material, not an A-bomb, not an atom bomb or something. I think, and when people said, when he said, you know, people think nukes and radioactive material is a lot different. A lot different, okay? Nukes, you can wipe out whole cities or states, okay? Radioactive material, like this big Kleenex box. This is radioactive material. This is the size of radioactive material. Something like this, okay? Or even a big data drive, terabyte external terabytes, you know, 60 terabyte drive or whatever. That's what it is. So, oh my god. Anyways, I think I've done enough. I need to get on my other site. I need to get on OnlyFans as well. See what they're one of them's up to. Y'all have a good morning, night. Take care and bless and everything.